on every timeline, in every universe.
There's one thing that we always talk about. Marvel.
Welcome to the Goodell Multiverse podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sam Goodell.
I'm Isaiah Goodell.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. We're talking about Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited. As you could tell, he's probably my favorite Avenger. Just saying, he is my favorite Avenger.
So, is he your favorite Avenger?
I think he's my favorite Avenger.
I'll tell you, Marvel, I never liked Captain America. Full disclosure. Never liked him. I was like, what a jerk. Who's this guy? You know, a little pompous, whatever, comic books. But what they've done with the MCU, he quickly became my favorite character in the MCU. Yeah. I don't know if he's my favorite Avenger, though. That's a different conversation. Although, my favorite character, though, man, what they've done with him is so good.
Oh, yeah. So good. So good. Well, I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of our agenda for this episode. This is episode 6 of the Goodell Multiverse podcast. Right. This is so fun. We've been having a lot of fun learning some new things, and editing and marketing is now the next thing, and we're going to get on next. So if you are listening to this on a streaming device of your choice, platform of your choice, like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, we do have a video version of the podcast on our social media page on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
That's right. So, yes.
We're trying to get ourselves out there, and your support will be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, look for movie trailer reactions and throwing out some mini videos of just some thoughts about little news things that we're not going to cover on here. Yeah. We'll have a lot of fun stuff out there.
Oh, yeah, totally. We're anticipating your Dark Dimension episode. Yep. That's going to be fun.
I took the week to really figure out how I'm going to do it and kind of get a list of ones I want to do. And so be looking for that in the next, few days or so. Should be popping up.
Yeah. All right. So before I run down the agenda, I just wanted to let you guys know if we seem a little sluggish today or anything, our family's been going through a little bit of a hard time recently. With a family member that's fallen ill, taking a little bit of a turn. So if anyone out there is a faith-based person, they want to pray for our family, we certainly would appreciate it.
And please, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining and supporting our little channel. And the agenda for today, we're going to talk about the news of the week in our Multiverse Minute. Then we're going to go into our branch point breakdown of Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 5. We're almost there, folks. It's getting close.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have our retrospective review of Captain America, the First Avenger.
First Avenger.
And a lot of stuff has happened this week, so we're going to get right into it with the Multiverse Minute. Thank you for tuning in to the Goodell Multiverse podcast, folks. We are in the Multiverse Minute, maybe 45 minutes of our episode. So if you're just watching this as a clip on YouTube, please check out the full video on YouTube or the full audio on any streaming platform of your choice.
Yep.
And so, my brother Ike, why don't you take it away with the first thing on our agenda?
All right. So we're going to talk about Spider-Man again. So we got Spider-Man has some footage and posters. It's a brand new day footage and posters that they have released at I keep wanting to say Comic-Con, everybody, but it's the Cinecon or CinemaCon, or how do you say it?
Yep, you're right.
CinemaCon. Yeah. So let's talk about these posters.
Oh, and gosh,
what do you think, Sam? On when you see these posters, are posters a big deal to you? That's a good question with this one. I was wondering that when I was thinking about this the other night. I do personally love a good movie poster, but what settles with you when it comes down to posters, and does it help move the needle? And what do you think about any of the footage that we have?
Well, I do think personally that movie posters are important. I think they do help move the needle a little bit, especially to your casual moviegoer that may not be a Marvel fan, but they see a poster of something as they're walking into the theater, or as it pops up online when they're looking up, hey, what's playing this weekend? We can go see. And that kind of catches people's eye. So
yeah,
I am a big fan of movie posters. So my brother knows this. I usually collect the Marvel movie posters whenever they come out. And of course, they release like 3 or 4 different versions. So I picked the one that I feel like speaks to me the most, is this embodies the film to me better. Yeah. I like the ensemble posters that really has the main cast in it. So we didn't get those type of posters yet, from the Spider-Man ones, but I gotta tell you, these ones, if you are a fan of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, especially Spider-Man 2,
Yeah, good point. I didn't even think about that till you
this
said it.
one of these posters looks like, oh gosh, like a remix, like a updated version of that with like spitting image of Tom Holland's Spider-Man in his mask, and in his eye he sees MJ, where I think in Spider-Man 2 it's the same thing. He sees his MJ in the eye. It's just a actually it's a great compliment to what we know of the Spider-Man movie thus far, because in Spider-Man 2 of Sam Raimi's trilogy, he was going through kind of a change of himself where he was losing some of his abilities
Right.
and things like that, and trying to figure out the emotional part of being Spider-Man and balancing that. And from what we see so far of Brand New Day, Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker is going through the same thing. Maybe a little more dramatic, but it's about the same thing.
So Brand New Day could be the Spider-Man 2 of Tom Holland's universe, if you think about it.
Mhm.
I mean, you never know. That is a great poster. I do like it. I am personally, when it comes down to posters, I'm not a fan of floating heads. Like, don't get me wrong, you can get a good poster with those, and it's kind of neat, but I like it when they get really creative. I'm more of a fan of the other poster that they have along with this one, which shows him directly, like, going into combat with who we think is the Hand.
Yeah.
And that's really cool because it's like a segment of the movie that is being highlighted. But don't get me wrong, I didn't think about how much this new poster looks like the Spider-Man 2 poster. And in a lot of ways that it's kind of neat. I do like that too. Yeah, posters sometimes don't mean a lot to me either. I like I said, I like them. A good one's a real good one. Um, but they don't really tell me much about the movie. I don't know if they get me too excited or not excited for a movie, because you can take a real crap movie and have a really sweet poster. So sometimes that's how I take the posters. But hey, any kind of merchandise you can get, especially when it is something that you do like, this movie's awesome. Getting all the posters, that's a fun thing to do. It's always fun getting like fun little gifts and stuff like that, and give stuff for the movie theaters to put out there when they're promoting these. And
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about the footage that they talked about? I don't think that, for me, I don't think there's anything too real significant, other than I like the fact that I guess Ned is looking for Spider-Man because he's aware that Spider-Man saved his life. You're not knowing who he is. So that's got to be a very complicated feeling for Peter, knowing that, oh, that's me because I'm your best friend. And Ned's like almost obsessed with it. And actually, it kind of gives me story beat ideas about if this is a trilogy that's going to happen. Because what if this is their way they're going to turn Ned into a bad guy eventually? And I think that'd be kind of neat. But I'll throw that to Sam because I have a feeling that was on his mind. So go ahead, Sam.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because in the comics, not the Green Goblin, but the Hobgoblin, one of his, I guess you say, people that embodied the Hobgoblin, because I think, sometimes in the comics, there's someone who takes on the mantle and someone who does this and that. But Ned is actually, in the comics, the Hobgoblin eventually.
Right.
And so I personally have speculated if they were going to do a Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, and going forward, that with Ned not remembering Tom Holland, what if you saw one of those cases where, or Peter Parker, I keep saying Tom Holland, but, differentiate Peter 3, Peter 2, whatever one it is, Peter 1. So, I've always speculated myself, if I was going to continue the story and have Ned be a part of it, wouldn't that be interesting to see your best friend become maybe not your greatest villain, but one of your villains?
Well, I think that's greatest, so really.
It could be, yeah, because to be honest, we already got Green Goblin with Willem Dafoe in here, so maybe they don't want to repeat Green Goblin specifically in him, but do Hobgoblin, which is a different character, but basically takes on the same persona.
Yeah. Because technically Green Goblin was always kind of, Toby's guy. He just happened to, with that storyline of that one. But yeah, no.
Yeah. I've always thought, I think that would be really cool and interesting storytelling, especially for character development for Peter. So to me, that's the only thing that I got out of it really wasn't that consequential of the footage that they showed. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that, when if you're thinking about, bigger stakes, if they showed 15 minutes of Peter fighting a group of the task force that's in New York City, or maybe Department of Damage Control officers, and then you find out who the heck Sadie Sink is in that, I feel like that would have been a little more of a, this is how this movie's going to progress. Or maybe see what he and Bruce Banner are doing for those 15 minutes of footage. Oh, there you go. So I think that, and I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but I think that this footage was safe footage. It gave the audience something to chew on and something to think about, but nothing revealing enough to say what's actually going on in the movie. So the only thing that my fan theoriness was circling around in my brain was, Ned's trying to find Spider-Man. He's trying to find him to thank him. But what if it's not thanking him? What if something had happened? Or in the course of this movie, him trying to find out who Spider-Man is to thank him turns into, I'm going to try to find him because whatever happens in this movie is something bad for him. And therefore, it turns into the obsession in a negative way. Not, I want to thank you and give you a hug type thing. It's more of a, I want to kill you and I'm going to find out who you really are type thing. So, who knows how they could go with this? But Marvel and Sony, if you're writing this and you know about comic lore and it sounds like you do a pretty good job at most of it, then that's where I'd take it, that direction.
Yeah, do you think, a question for you then, do you think, let's assume that this new Spider-Man is branching into another trilogy. I think that's kind of the plan, right?
I think that's a safe bet.
It's a safe bet to think that's probably a cool way to go. Do we hint Ned going bad from the first movie on, or is it something should be a surprise later? I personally think there should be a build.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like what did well in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy was Harry finding out in the second movie that Spider-Man was involved in his father's death, and you got to see him in the second movie figure out that that's Peter Parker, and then figuring out emotionally for the character, how am I going to deal with it? And then you get to the third movie and he's the new Goblin, which is a brand new character, but so he's not the Hobgoblin in that trilogy, but it basically is kind of a copycat Green Goblin type thing. I feel like that brought a little more of an emotional beat for their relationship. And so I would do the similar thing with Ned and Peter. I would have it where, if not in this movie, by the next movie, something has turned where he's not only figuring out who Peter really is, or who is this Peter guy, because he doesn't know who Peter Parker is. He just knows from the footage that we know that that's MJ's new neighbor there.
Yeah.
For however that plays out, we have yet to find out. But I think him figuring out that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are the one and the same, and then whatever events lead up to it, I would rather, like you said, have more of a build up to it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the emotional part of it would be so... That's one of the things that's made Green Goblin in particular Spider-Man's main arch enemy. I know a lot of people would say, Venom is Spider-Man's main arch enemy. Well, Spider-Man has a huge rogues gallery. Everyone who's a bad guy in the Spider-Man universe wants to get rid of Peter. But arguably why they chose Green Goblin in the first trilogy and why he's remained in the Andrew Garfield films and why he became such a big deal in No Way Home is because Green Goblin is Spider-Man's main adversary.
Yeah, I've never read a Spider-Man comic book once in my life. And I've always had the impression that Green Goblin is his main.
Yep. So
maybe it is because it was the first villain in the movies. But I've always known that Venom was a big deal, but I always thought Venom was one of those characters that got developed because the character got big and they needed a direction to go.
Yep.
And not that Venom's not cool as hell. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
But that's good. I'm glad you clarified that. Yeah.
That's my interpretation of the Spider-Man comics, is that Green Goblin is his bad guy. Even in all the animated Spider-Man movies and films and
it's always been
the TV shows, Green Goblin has been the biggest affront to him. So I think if they're trying to recreate that for the MCU and not do an exact copycat of what we've seen of him already, this is the way to go.
Yeah, no, good point. I got two things to add to that for fun. One of the ways I would do it, I almost would love for them, Ned's looking for who Spider-Man is because he saved their lives. And with the events of whatever happens in this movie, Ned's opinion of Spider-Man changes. But it'd be I think it'd be fun. So we don't like repeat arcs that we've seen before. It'd be fun if that's kept to Ned's self, though. So maybe by the end of this movie, it'd be kind of neat if Peter is able to, like, I finally get to tell my best friend I'm Spider-Man, not knowing that his opinion of him has changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then they're friends while Ned now is like, wait a minute, like, you're him and we used to be best friends. And I think it'd be more fun than Peter knowing he's got to hide it from him because he hates Spider-Man. It'd be fun if Peter thinks everything's good when it's not, because then an emotional hit later could be better. Then I have a real super hot take about that. I'll tell you right now. I think I do. I may be wrong, but anything I've looked up online, maybe other people feel the same. I doubt it, but because I haven't heard a lot about it. But I truly believe that the chemistry between Tobey Maguire and James Franco as friends and turning into this is better than Tom Holland and I can't remember what's his name.
Ned.
Or
Yeah. Jacob Barton.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm not saying they're not great together as good friends and stuff. I like the other two better. I think they sell it more. I think that's one of the most underrated things about the Tobey movies is James Franco's part.
I do agree about that.
Yeah.
I have to really, for myself, really watch the two of them and their interactions on both the Peter and Ned and Peter and Harry to see. But I do remember the Tobey Maguire Peter and Harry. They were like best buds. It was like a brothership.
It felt more real.
Yep.
You know, and these guys are great.
So well.
And like I said, I'm not saying these guys are bad. I mean, for these guys too. I just don't feel like we've had the heartwarming moments between them that we did to the others. You know, like Ned and Peter in these movies have been, I'd say, about 90% comical moments. They get along as friends, and they're funny together, and that's worked real well. It makes it endearing, right? But not many times is there like a very soft moment between them about life and like what's happening. That's usually between Peter and MJ, which is fine because that's the love of his life, and that was what was lacking in the Toby one. Was their romance wasn't there. We just were to think it was something that was always there, and it didn't feel like it was. When like between Franco and Toby, they found this we can kid with each other, but there's a care there. That's when he does find out that Peter's Spider-Man. It's not easy for him to want to kill him, even though he does eventually try to. You know, and he struggles with it because it's like, oh, this is someone that I've really cared about, but it's also my dad we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and of course it's not just his dad, but it's the crazy side of his dad that he's fighting. You know, so it makes it even harder. You know, so yeah, but that's just I don't know how. I'm glad you feel the same way, but I feel like not a lot of people do feel that way about it. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I will just say, just to put a close to this, that we already found out in No Way Home that Ned has some magical tendencies and ties of his ancestries, and Hobgoblin in the comics uses magic more than tech.
It's happening, folks.
So, Marvel, it's right there. If you do not bake this cake,
they're going to do it
and serve it, then what are we doing? It'll be one of, and I'll hold your feet to the fire for this. It'll be one of the most missed opportunities in the Spider-Man universe that you've created for the MCU, and we get to those in the movies when we talk about them.
Honestly, I think even more evidence towards they're going to do it is the fact that they made a joke about it in No Way Home.
Yes,
because everything that's happened to Peter, everything that's happened to the other two Spider-Men, I think is going to happen to Peter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that even it's a multiversal thing, I think there is a theme of who you are as a character. It might be a different way of getting there, but you're still going to get to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
So, his Aunt May was their, uncle rather than Aunt May, but just so on and so forth, right? So I think that Peter needs a character in his life that does betray him because the other two know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I would think that if there's anything that he hasn't gone through yet, really is that kind of betrayal.
Yep.
If you think about it, when it comes down to a character-wise, the idea of someone that close turning on you, it's going to happen.
And that's part of Peter Parker's lure. And this is actually a perfect time. Because we've always talked about that the Homecoming trilogy here is Peter growing up. And now at the end of No Way Home, he is the Spider-Man that we know from the comics. He has gone through that origin. This really is an origin trilogy.
3-arc origin,
Yeah, but it's beautifully done.
Beautifully.
Really well done. So now if we're getting a new trilogy, this is the young adulthood Spider-Man, where he's seen some things in life, and part of his growing up experience and now growing into the man he's going to become of Spider-Man is what happens when a close friend that you thought was your best friend betray you.
And the drama could be so much better because he has no more net now because he's alone.
Yes.
There's no more Tony Starks or Aunt Mays or Happies or friends or it's you're going to deal with this on your own.
Yep.
And that's something that's as someone turning into an adult. Yeah, I think that's what
shivers thing.
Honestly, I'm not even going to call it missed opportunity unless they don't do it.
Yeah.
But I actually kind of feel like that's kind of what they're trying to do.
Yeah. If they get to the end of this trilogy and they have not established Ned as Hobgoblin and a friend betrayal type of a scenario, then that I will call it then a missed opportunity. Yeah. So Sony, Marvel, you got 2 more films, including this one. Well, 3 films then to figure this out.
See, we don't need Jean Grey in this movie. We just need Ned.
Exactly.
We got X-Men coming, guys.
Leave her alone. Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what your thoughts are on this topic. What was your favorite poster from the Spider-Man Brand New Day reveal at the CinemaCon? The Cinnabon. And let us know what you thought of the footage. It's, from my understanding, is the footage released?
I don't know. I know there's a descriptors, like a lot of podcasters are doing it.
Yeah.
John Campy and them do a real good job at breaking it down, but
I don't think they've released the footage.
I don't think it's been released yet, no.
All right. Well, when that eventually does.
I bet it does soon.
If it doesn't, then we're definitely going to see the movie anyways. Yeah. And that's coming out in just like 3 months. So stay tuned, folks. Comment down below. Let us know what you thought. And now we're on to our next news topic. So, Marvel layoffs from Disney. Now, I'm going to read to you about this because I want to make sure I get all the facts right on this. And then you're going to hear my brothers and I reaction to this and what our 2 cents are on it. All right, so I'm reading to you from ScreenCrush.com. Disney lays off nearly the entire visual department team at Marvel Studios. Let's see. A month into the new Disney CEO, Josh D'Amaro's tenure, he announced in a memo to the company earlier this week that around 1,000 jobs would be eliminated. Among the divisions hit particularly hard by the cuts is a key group within Marvel Studios, the visual department team, which is involved in the design of each Marvel film and TV production, and is particularly known for their ingenious translations of Marvel's signature comic book costumes into live action that actual human beings can wear. According to Forbes, Disney's layoffs hit Marvel hard, with the company losing staff from both New York and Burbank across most areas of the organization, including film and TV production, as well as comics, franchise, finance, and legal. That includes the nearly entire Academy Award-winning visual department team at Marvel Studios. Among those affected, let's see, there was a concept artist that sent a tweet out that I actually showed this to my brother earlier, saying the irony of having one-on-one HR layoff meeting in the conference room where my Loki mural is on it. If that doesn't stick a knife right into you, folks, I don't know what does, to be honest. So that's all I'm going to read of this at this time. It's quoted as saying that there is now just a skeleton crew of the full-time production staff remaining in place to coordinate the hiring of resources on a per-project basis now. I will say one last thing that the CEO of Disney has stated that one of the reasons is to slim down all their studios that they're working on, all the departments that they have within Disney, and that they're saying they are not doing as many projects as they had been for the past couple of years. So that is one of the reasons for the layoffs. So what are your initial reactions and thoughts about this?
Well, I got a couple different feelings about this. From a business end, I understand what's happening. It's where we've made a lot of products. They have found that their TV section for Marvel itself has been not doing so well when it comes down to the way they want it to be received, and they've already talked about how that's going to get cut back, and there's going to be less of them, and we're not going to be doing 6 movies a year if they want, whatever. It's some crazy number that they had discussed before. So yeah, if you don't have the need for that department to be as prevalent, then that's fine. Now this is Disney. This is just from Marvel Studios, correct? It's not.
It's company wide. It was
So
like
yeah,
over a
being
thousand
company
jobs.
wide, I think is
But
more concerning than anything else, in my opinion. If it was just Marvel's side of it, I would see that okay, we're cutting down, so that's what we're doing. But being company wide, you're talking about Disney makes a lot of stuff, guys. Like it's beyond Marvel movies at this point when it comes down to special effects. I would say not. The majority of Disney movies kind of rely on some type of special effects, if not animation, right? At least anything that's big when it comes down to big budget or making any kind of significant box office, it's usually special effects things. With that said, maybe that they're cutting down on all of that, which is kind of a good thing. I mean, Disney kind of already owns the world as it is. Um, and I think that, cutting back in an area where you're not going to be using it a lot more is a great way to find some of that extra money. I think that the other side of it that's a little more just like a personal feeling about it is you are one of the biggest companies in the world that runs a lot of things when it comes down to resorts and TV shows and television and movies and games. And I mean, we can go on and on about the products Disney has, and to hear of any kind of layoffs just to save a few bucks here and there kind of is it's a little distasteful. I feel, I get it. Why have the redundancy? That's why it's a hard argument to have. But from someone like me who, I'm 3 paychecks away from, being in trouble kind of thing, I don't know what it's like to get a guaranteed $32 million on just my subscription plans, no matter what year, whether I put crap out or not, and so when I hear that kind of stuff, it kind of, yeah, it sucks to see people lose their jobs. The good thing is these guys are excellent at what they do. They'll find work. There's other studios still. They might get rehired for projects. And then, because I think that's kind of what they're going to do is start outsourcing some of these things because special effects isn't going to go away. They're still going to need it. So they're going to have to either hire out or the skeleton crew will do the best they can. We don't want to see the skeleton crew not be able to do the special effects because there's too much, so that we'll have to source some of it out. So we'll get to maybe see different kinds of special effects that's going on out there. Different groups, the studios are making them, and they look a little different. It's nice. So I think there's a lot of good and bad in this. I understand it. It feels a little distasteful. I feel bad for the people that lost their jobs. I know that they were compensated pretty good though, so it's not. I feel like they're going to find work as well because they've worked in with a company that's made what they've made. And you can see their work on, they got a good resume from where they're coming from. But yeah, I would feel a little upset if I'm sitting in a meeting and the guy firing me has my painting behind him. Like,
oh,
really? You're firing me for the thing that you got hanging in your office?
ouch.
It's like, yeah, it's a little, it's in, you know, yeah. And I just saving money. It's like, why don't we just not spend as much money then? Because I got to be honest, one of the things I love the movie industry, guys. I love movies. I hate Hollywood though, and the way it's run. Or I mean, it's because it's not run. It's kind of a wild west. There's a lot of money being exchanged, and I get it. There are things that cost money. I know that. I'm not an idiot, but sometimes you kind of like, that's how much this person's getting for that? Holy moly. There's a lot of money involved here. And when you're talking about someone's lives, you spend your life working hard to do this kind of work, which to me, arguably, is some of the most important stuff. If your special effects is off, if your music is off, your lights off, your sound is off, your stages don't look good, the makeup looks bad, all those things have a very key little moment that make what you're making come to life. So to take one of them and feel like we can just do without this for a while, eh, it kind of feels a little underhanded. So Disney, could you really afford to keep them? What's the problem here? You know, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. But that's also just my personal feeling. As a company, though, if I was running a company that was worried about my money and where it's going and every little dime of it, then yeah, if you don't need them, you don't need them. And that's kind of, so it's mixed feelings, but it's also something I try not to bother myself with because you're talking the kind of money I'll never see in 10 years. So how do you feel about it, Sam?
Well, I do have a couple thoughts about this myself, and I have a hot take for this too, in particular. So, it's worth mentioning that the new Disney CEO had recently, I'm not sure how recent it was, but it was since he started his tenure. Um, he had a discussion about AI, and he made the comment that we are not going to make films using AI to replace people, but we'll use our creative teams will use it as a tool, which is the typical sentiment that you're hearing in Hollywood now. That there is a whole reason behind some of the strikes that happened recently and things like that was they wanted to make sure to preserve filmmaking as we know it, and it's not taken over in any department by greedy companies that wanted just AI to do it where a human normally would have done it. So I get it, and that sounds like that type of sentiment. One of my worries is I wonder if they're saying one thing and they're going to try it out secretly in another way. So I don't say that to say they are going to rely heavily on AI to do some of these special effects. I do believe in when he says that they're going to use it as a tool, but I wonder if using it as a tool means that it does take away jobs and that what would take 3 or 4 people to edit a certain scene will now only take 1 or 2 people. And it trickles down from there. And another thing I'll say while we're chewing on this is that it is true that they have been deciding to roll back some of their films that they're doing, like the release schedule. I know they've made a decision. Kevin Feige has spoken openly about this, about the TV side of things. He doesn't want it to feel like homework anymore. So therefore, after Vision Quest, moving forward, we're not going to have to rely on the TV shows as much to get what's going on in the films. Hopefully that does remain true because he said this before, it backtracked, and now we're doing it again. So I feel, though, they've learned their lesson enough that they're going to try doing that. And it does go, there is some proof behind some of this when they've tried to backtrack it. For instance, in 2024, we've only had one MCU film, that was Deadpool and Wolverine. And in 2026 that we're in right now, we're only having one MCU film made by Disney. So not including Spider-Man, that's its own separate thing. But it's Avengers Doomsday. Then next year in 2027, we only have Avengers Secret Wars. So for that, you have a little bit of proof there to back up your statement. However, I will note that we have pending dates for May 5th, 2028, July 28th, 2028, and December 15th, 2028. And then in 2029, we have May 4th, 2029, July 13th, 2029. So far confirmed as slots that they've placed in their calendar for Marvel Studios films. So are you really dialing it back? Or was this a temporary soft pause and then you're just going to keep on going? And if that's the case and these dates do stick, because they're subject to change, they can easily fill that with another Disney property like a Pixar movie or Disney animation or what have you. But if these do stick, how much have you actually then scaled back? That's just one part of that, I would say. My hot take is this isn't going to last. I think that you either are going to get, I wouldn't say you're going to get a writer's strike type of a situation. You may get some ruffle of feathers when it comes to that aspect of the movie making business, of course, because that's a big deal when you're like the biggest company is laying off almost an entire division of one of the most successful franchises in the film industry and in the world. You are bound to get some pushback from not only writers, but directors and artists, actors, things like that. You're going to hear it. So this isn't, I found it funny that they released this almost like in the middle of the night as a memo right before the Disney presentation the next day, because I feel like that was their way of, we're going to get it out there, kind of like the Epstein Files thing. We're going to get it out there, that memo, and we're not just going to talk about it. We're going to cover it up with some other newsworthy thing.
Yeah.
So that's just the politics of it. But anyways, I don't predict this is going to last. I think that they're going to backtrack on this and they're going to do kind of like a growing pains like they have done since Infinity War. I'm sorry, the Infinity Saga was over. And they were like, oh, more Disney Plus shows. We're going to prioritize that. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, the movies are going to be this way. We're going to jump on to this. And then they realized this was a mistake. Quality and quantity, you can't swap them around and think it's going to work. And I have a feeling they're going to get the same thing again, just in a different department. And so maybe we'll get better quality storytelling of the films because they've learned that lesson. But we'll see how heavy they're going to do on the visual effects and what's that going to affect the look of the MCU moving forward and see if they're going to make another change. I don't think it's going to last. That's just my hot take. Maybe I'm proven wrong, but that's my 2 cents about it.
Are the dates you mentioned, are those specifically Marvel films?
Yep.
Okay.
They are. Disney put them on the calendar for specific Marvel Studio films, theatrical releases.
And it's theatrical releases. Okay.
Yep. No idea exactly what they are.
Yeah.
It's so early on.
Because part of me was like, those could be TV shows, but if it's specifically theatrical releases, and that is a lot. Yeah. It's hard to say. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
You make good points.
if you look back at phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, you were able to see in Marvel where they're able to do a slow progression from 2 films a year to 3 films a year, and it didn't change the quality. It increased the quantity without making it oversaturated for the market. They were spaced out properly. There were different flavors of films. You had a Guardians, and then you had a Captain America the same year, things like that. So they could do it. I'm not saying that they should go the 4 films a year or onward, but if their idea was to progress in that state, I feel like they could do it. I don't know if it would be as successful. I kind of think they should stick to the formula they already have now that was working before they tried to experiment with the Disney Plus side of things and more type thing. So last year, 2025, we had 3 films. They didn't do as high, but that's because Marvel got into a little bit of a low, and the one film really left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And unfortunately, Marvel, when you make one film and you're like, it's okay this one isn't as good because the next 2 are great, you've already put that taste in people's mouths where do we want to even see your next film? And that's why I think suffered Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four in the box office mostly, because those are great films. And Captain America did make, Brave New World did make more money than those other 2, but it was such a poor quality of a movie and not what people were expecting that you now have put a damper on your future projects. Thankfully, though, I will say Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four were really good films, and it really makes us anticipate Doomsday even better, because had those been failures too, we would have been looking at each other and having a different opinion on Doomsday. But I digress on that part.
There's more wrong with why those didn't work than that, but you are right. The one didn't help being bad. The more you stay good, the more confident people are to watch your movies. And whether you know it, like it or not, the general public will go see something that the fans of that thing are speaking a lot about. They might not, the general public might not care if the next movie's good or bad, and like us Marvel nerds would. But they do hear us, Marvel nerds, and say, hey, look, the Marvel guys are saying this is good. Let's go see it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like any action movie, or any horror movie. Oh, look, the guys that like horror movies are saying this is the best thing they've ever seen. Let's go see it. Then that's where you get your people that usually don't watch horror movies going and watching a horror movie. You never think they would because everyone's raving about it. And the ones raving about it are the true, real fans. So you need to think of catering to both, right? You got to make it for the general audience, but you also got to make the nerds, the ones that are going to watch these no matter what you do right now, got to like it too. Because when you start losing those guys, that's when your average Joe is going to be, look, my buddy loves Marvel, and he says not to waste your time with the new one. So we're not going to, because I don't care so much about Marvel, but I go if he's excited.
Yep.
And if Deadpool Wolverine didn't prove that to you all, then I don't know what else can.
Yeah.
Because everyone went and watched that because everybody was excited. All the nerds were like, yes, we want this. No one, your average person out there didn't really know what big a deal that was. They just went and watched a really fun movie. And then it was good, and it just had the legs and did what it did. But if it wasn't for us nerds hyping that up, it wouldn't have mattered. You know, and
I agree.
I think that's a lot to do with it. So yeah, your quality's got to stay there, guys. And when you do this kind of stuff, Disney's known for this. And this is some of the things I have an issue with Disney itself. They make a lot of knee-jerk reactions to something. And I'm not saying something caused this to happen, but it's like someone had this cool idea that, oh, it's just how we'll save this. We got some idea where we need another $2 billion. So let's start getting rid of this part of this company. Not thinking ahead that, well, wait a minute, we still want to do 3 movies next year. So does that mean we're going to overwork the guys we got and hire out? Well, are you saving money at that point? I don't know. It's a good point, Sam.
Yeah. All right. Well, the question is for you guys. The Marvel layoffs just happened, and so was it happen for the industry? What does it mean for Marvel Studios? What do you guys think? Are you in favor of this? Are you not in favor of this? Jump down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. All right, so the last topic of our Multiverse Minute news section. Ike, why don't you start us off?
Yes, so it looks like people at CinemaCon, I always do that, guys, I apologize, at CinemaCon got to see a exclusive Avengers Doomsday trailer. CinemaCon attendees got to experience an exclusive first look at the Avengers Doomsday trailer hosted by Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, Avengers versus X-Men versus Doom. So that's what happened, and I thought maybe what we'll do is we both have read and listened to a few people talk about the breakdown of it. We'll just go through like point by point, go back and forth on what we think of that point, maybe give a little overall thing at the end of it. We'll try not to make this too long, but this is a really big one. So this is some of the reason why we're doing this podcast is marching to Doomsday. So this is that big movie, guys, that we can't wait to get to and really enjoy and have a good time with. So why don't you start off, Sammy? What do you think? What was the first thing that you remember? I'm trying to think what the first thing they said they saw in the trailer was.
So the first thing that I'll say about it so far is that we've heard a couple of different conflicting reports of exactly what happened. Some minor little details that one attendee would say, and then another one would say something that's similar but a little different.
Yeah.
And so we never went, and so we have no idea. And most of the attendees, they're just trying to do this from memory because they weren't allowed to record it with their phones. They actually were, from my understanding, escorting people who were pulling their phones out during it.
Wow.
So they were making sure this trailer stays airtight in that arena, whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
So kind of bummed they didn't release it right afterwards online so the whole world can just see it and we don't have to guess, was this person in it, was this person not in it, did this person lift up this, or this person lift up this, things like that.
Yeah.
And we mean say that in a moment. But from my understanding of the trailer, Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom is heavily involved in it.
Yep.
You do get your first look at Dr. Doom in all his glory.
If I'm not mistaken, it starts out with hearing him talk too, right? Like,
yep.
Doom is narrating a lot, or at least the beginning part of this trailer that we've heard.
Yep.
And you get to hear his Latvian accent, which which all of them have said that's been a lot of the stuff. We'll say, we'll tell you when we think it's something that's different. But this was something that we heard from everybody. That you get his Latvian accent, you do get a good shot of him kneeling down. That's where some of the things get conflicting. Some say that his mask is off. And you get a reveal of his face right in the beginning, and some say the mask is on. I feel like the mask is probably on. I feel like that's something they, but yeah. So what do you think of this? I mean, I can't wait to hear his voice personally.
I can't wait either. From everyone that has, everyone agrees that if you did not know Robert Downey Jr. was Dr. Doom, you would not have guessed it from his voice. That's how good of voice acting he did for developing a European accent.
Yeah.
I'm not specifically sure because we haven't heard it yet, like where it sounds like he derived this accent from, but it's very distinguishable. And so that's cool that RDJ is committed to the role of Victor Von Doom and things like that. So even though this is probably going to be his 1 out of 2 movie gig for this, because that's what it seems like they're going to be doing, he's giving it his all in his comeback here as an actor in the studio. So
Yeah, and the voice thing's a big deal because you often hear when there's castings of big characters, or something's very anticipated in other movies. And you get those little snippets of, oh, what do they sound like? I remember the first time they heard, Heath Ledger talking as the Joker, or even Tom Hardy as Bane. And that one kind of got a lot of crap, which is funny because it's fantastic. I mean, I don't know why that always got a lot of crap, but and Heath with Joker was great, and we're getting a lot of similar reactions from people that I've been reading and listening to, saying that it's unbelievably good. That it's something that at least the voice so far for them is not, showing any signs of, oh, this character could be weird. It sounds like it's very serious that he's doing that. And that's Robert Downey Jr., man. He's good. I've no doubt in his acting capability of him playing this part. My concern has always been what Doom's deal is, where he's from and why, what it means moving forward. But if we're going to take it just for this movie so far, yeah, I can't wait to hear his voice. And yeah, bring it to us, guys. We want to hear it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm trying to remember specifics on like the trailer, how it started and when it went, but I'm just gonna go through what I do remember or some of the highlights of it. What depending on what order they're in, we won't know.
Yeah.
As just us average schmucks until it's released onto YouTube. So please, Marvel, do us a favor, just release it. You got it done. It sounds amazing. No matter who you hear it from, everyone is blown. Like their mind is blown. We've even heard some insider reports of people who have seen like the first cut of the film and they're comparing it to Infinity War level like excitement, or that it's even better than Infinity War, which I gotta tell you, that's a pretty big it's a pretty big
it's a high bar.
deal. Yeah. High bar. Yeah. So from what I gather people have been saying is that it starts off with Xavier and a new shot of him in the X Mansion looking out the window and seeing an incursion happening in front of his eyes. That's where you see the X-Men fighting the Avengers, and Doom is in the midst of it, but it's a little unclear if Doom's part of the Avengers, if he just tagged along with them, if he's his own thing, but it definitely is. Doom is kicking some butt, from my understanding. Like there is definitely some sort of war going on, and um, what I found that was interesting is if you remember all the teasers that came out in front of Avatar, because like Avatar 3, Fire and Ash, every weekend, or every week I should say, they put forth a new teaser of Doomsday. So that's when you got the Chris Hemsworth Thor teaser. You got Chris Evans confirmed to come back. You got the X-Men teaser, and then you got the Fantastic Four meeting the Wakandans teaser and stuff like that. Though that last one right there, it gets expanded upon in this trailer, and it's showing that the desert that they're walking on is not actually a desert,
Right.
but it's in fact probably Namor doing this because he does have water manipulation abilities in the comics. It's actually they're going to Atlantis, or what's it actually called, Talokan.
Yeah.
Like they're splitting the water open Moses style from the Bible. Like that's some pretty cool, impressive.
Yeah, it's really the ocean floor is what they're standing on.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
That just sounds so cool. It makes me think, I can't wait to see that scene. Your predictions for CinemaCon for this panel was that we would see a trailer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And that you were very how do I say, kind of low on your expectations. You were like, I'm just expecting one thing, where I just was shooting for the stars. And I'm like, you're going to see a trailer. You're going to see cast walk out on stage. You're going to hear new characters confirmed. And of those things, technically you did get cast walk out on stage, but it's not what I was trying to invoke. I was thinking, new cast members make your grand appearance. But in a little bit of that, you did see Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans come out, introduce the trailer, talk about it, have this little Civil War rivalry still going on, which is kind of cool. And then the trailer did confirm a new cast member in Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie Lang.
That's right.
She is in the trailer, and then later on, the actress went onto her Instagram and confirmed with a tiny little chair that she is, in fact, in the movie. So there was a new cast announcement. It was just very subtle, and like Ant-Man, very small, and he could have missed it. So
Yeah, and that proves to me that Chair Watch was just a beginning of this is what's going to be in this movie. And clearly there's going to be surprises. I think we said it, I even said it to you today, that just because all the X-Men aren't listed in Chair Watch and they're still denying being in it, I feel like they've went to everybody to get as many as they possibly could. And I don't know what's going on in their lives and in their jobs and whether they want to do them or not. But a couple of them have said that they definitely would come back, and they're not, confirmed to be casted yet. But I'm telling you, folks, I mean, if I had to predict we're going to get into this movie, we're probably going to see as many of them as they possibly could have got. I would be surprised if we don't get the entire cast back from the old X-Men. Yeah, with that said, one of the things they talked about was I was kind of surprised to hear this trailer had a lot of Thor heavy stuff going on.
Oh, yeah. So it makes it sound like, at least by this trailer, is that Thor is your central character in the film.
Or at least in the trailer for sure, right? I mean, we haven't seen the trailer, so we don't know how that feels yet, but you're right. It seems to be, I guess they described scenes of him rallying people together in Avengers Tower, which is a group of them, which is a lot of people. I guess it's the Thunderbolts, the Fantastic Four, and a bunch. And he's kind of given them his speech about how he's seen people get killed by lesser villains that he wasn't as afraid of as Doom. So he's begging people to put their differences aside and let's rally together because this guy's coming. This guy's hardcore. And then they describe a super epic shot of Thor charging up a Stormbreaker, thank you, and jumping in the air with electric and coming down at Doom. And John Campea says that all Doom did was put two fingers up and stop Stormbreaker.
Just to demonstrate how powerful he is, which is, they're going to need, honestly, that was one of my thoughts about this film going into it, is that they didn't do any lead up to Doom, whereas at least they were preparing for the Kang Dynasty when that was the title and that was the direction they were going in. And I love how they tried to do this little thing of, oh no, we're pivoting away from that. We actually had this plan all along. Be like, I don't think you did, but whatever. You're doing it. But regardless, they're definitely going to have to, because Thanos was kind of like a slow build, and you got to see from the very beginning of the post-credits scene of the first Avengers film, he is out there, and he definitely wants to challenge the Avengers, and then you just see it build up in little teases here or there, Guardians of the Galaxy cameo here, and post-credit scenes here, the fine, I'll do it myself, all that stuff, and you get to see it build up to that, and the anticipation just kept growing in each phase. They weren't able to do that with Doctor Doom because of this last-minute change, and I'm sorry, it kind of was last minute, or at least to the audience, it was last minute, so if you intended this Marvel to be that way, you kind of fumbled the ball on that. But regardless, this is what we got. And so you're going to need to show to the audience, to the Marvel fans, to everyone, that Doctor Doom is going to be that level of a threat. And I was trying to pull it up here real quick because I wanted to make sure I got the wording right. But I've heard a number of people say this exact same dialogue that Thor gives when he's trying to rally everyone together. He says something to the degree, and forgive me because I didn't hear it, that he says, I have fought beside heroes greater than you who have fallen to face threats that pale in comparison to this threat.
Yeah.
Something to that degree. I know they didn't use the word comparison. They said it in the Thor, Viking, Asgardian type of way. But whenever you do hear that specific dialogue, which was genius dialogue, whoever wrote that, that's amazing. And I wish I had the direct quote in front of me. But when the actual trailer does come out, ladies and gentlemen, we will do a reaction for you. So you
for sure.
Get to see it, and we get to definitely relive it every single second. When I did hear his words, sent kind of a chill down my spine, thinking, oh, they're making Thor, who arguably is one of the strongest Avengers out there, recognize that, even because he quivered at Thanos. So if he thinks that Thanos is lower of a threat than Doom, it makes me wonder, one, what did he see to make this happen? When did this dialogue take place? This could be at the very end, just as a battle cry type thing, or rallying cry, we don't know. But it's just, So much happening.
Yeah, it seems like Thor knows something, so we're gonna be seeing what that means, and where that's coming from. And
He's seen a lot of stuff.
yeah, but he's never mentioned Doom, so we're gonna have to be brought in on whatever that is. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah,
It's exciting to know that is a threat. I kind of sometimes I worry about power levels in the MCU. It's like we don't want to be too powerful to leave out our small characters, but we don't want to be not powerful enough to not make sense on being a threat. So sometimes it's like meh, the rules here and there, Ben, which is fine as long as it's not really weird. Um, I think that'll work out good. I think it sounds great with that in mind. And one of the other things I heard that sounds really exciting is I guess there's quite a long epic fight scene between Channing Tatum's Gambit and Shang-Chi.
yes, yeah. That sounds cool. Whatever they showed, because I mean, we can only imagine, but and
They
it's
make it
not.
sound awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like we should be surprised at that, but because we know they're both in the film and everything. But it's when you actually hear that there's a description of that out there, and that's what people saw. Then,
Yeah.
then it gets like all the X-Men and Avengers are actually coming together type thing. So that's kind of cool.
I remember John Campea saying there's lots of shots of Xavier and Magneto. He says there's lots of shots of Cyclops. Nothing in particular stands out other than you seeing them. I'm sure this trailer's got a lot of moments that cut real quick. And there's probably things that they're even forgetting to say, truthfully. That Gambit thing just reminds me that I remember when we watched Deadpool Wolverine, and at the end when you see Gambit doing his thing, the first thing I thought is, wow, what a missed opportunity they had back in the day of making him Gambit. Because how awesome! And I actually, when that movie was done, I kind of was sad thinking that's one of those times where they threw a fun cameo in that I'm just like, man, that's too bad. I wish they'd do that again.
Yeah,
And of course, thank God, here we are. And I guess he's in it and he's doing it again, and it's going to be awesome.
yeah,
So that's cool.
yeah.
And of course, we haven't seen this yet, so it might not be as awesome. But man, everybody that I've heard, they sound ecstatic about
Oh,
what
yeah.
it is.
Totally. It sounds cool. The another thing, the point that stuck out to me, because that's one of the characters I've been most anticipating to see, is you actually get to see Mystique transform
Oh, that's right.
trailer, and
Yeah,
transforms into Yelena Belova, and see Yelena fighting Yelena, and that
that's
just
cool.
sounds so cool.
And Mystique's in her like a white, like
Yep.
a new haircut with the white
Yep.
costume, like the old school. I mean, wow, guys, that sounds so good.
I will have to say, and I mean this with full respect, of course, but when I saw Chair Watch and Rebecca Romaine's name came up, my immediate thought was, "Oh my gosh, we're getting blue boobs again." And I say that as like a term of endearment, because really, the Bryan Singer and his team there, they kind of reinvented how Mystique looked for the films. And
Yeah,
such a unique. It made her. I'm sorry to anyone who was a fan of hers in the comics and thought that she was just popular there, and she is good in the comics, but it just heightened her profile.
oh, for sure.
And
Yeah,
that look always is like burned in my brain of just the still image of what Mystique looked like in X-Men 1. And so part of me was anticipating to actually see that again. But I get it. They want to do the comic accurate outfits, and it's Disney, so they might not be that edgy to do the supermodel, completely naked, blue skin, scaly skin type look. But from my understanding, she does still have those scales on her face. It's just they've given her the classic white outfit that she's known for.
yeah. I think that's just them kind of doing this whole we're committing to the old costumes, like, and I think that's smart. Really. I mean, what Rebecca did with it originally is, I mean, if she hadn't done what she did, we would have never got the Jennifer Lawrence version, which no matter what rumors you hear about whether she liked playing that part or not, there was a great part that she played, and she played a very big part in several of the movies, and in some of the best of them too. So like it was something. I don't know if that character would have been that prominent if they didn't make her that prominent in the 2000s like that.
Oh, yes. She definitely was a standout. I know
For sure.
First film, and her role kept getting bigger.
Yep.
Sad what they did to her in X-Men 3, but we'll get there when we get to that retrospective, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
We will get there. But it's just so cool to see her back in the outfit. And I do know from what she has said on her press tours is that she was excited to get back in the chair. And she did say she spent a long time in hair and makeup and doing that again. And she said it was reminiscent of the old days. So we definitely are going to get this comic accurate outfit, but who knows what else we could get? Maybe that could be its own skin for all we know. It's just, we never know what we're going to see, but it sounds really cool.
Makes me wonder what Alan Cumming's going to look like as Nightcrawler.
Man.
And that just crossed your mind just now.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, wait a minute. Because now if you think about those costumes, because his costume and the old ones are good, for him. But, like, if they're going to do this like this, I mean, he could be awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I'm actually surprised we didn't see a shot of him. And maybe there's a shot of him and we just didn't notice it. I'm sure once this trailer drops, there's going to be like tons of breakdowns out there and we're going to be one of them that talks about every second that we see.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, we got Mystique back, Nightcrawler, and Beast. We got all the blue people back. And it's going to be so cool to see them on screen together again. And just the classic ones. I know that Hank McCoy's Beast is not going to be the same as X-Men 3. We're probably going to get what we saw at the end of the Marvel's post-credit scene with the little more of an animated look for Kelsey Grammer and things like that. But
we get Kelsey's voice at least.
It's still his voice, and they still are using that mocap stuff like they do with the Hulk, so you do get him and his facial features. It's just, that CGI enhancement. So that sounds cool. And I didn't hear he was actually in the trailer, though. Funny enough, I did hear that Ant-Man appears a lot in the trailer, but just doesn't say anything. So Thor is the one who appears a lot and says stuff. So it's just, that's kind of cool that they're at least, and now Ant-Man's daughter is confirmed to be in it, Stature, which she is one of the co-leaders of the Young Avengers, which Marvel has been teasing for a while. So who knows where this is all going to end up. And who else they still have yet to announce, honestly. But I'm trying to think of anything else that just pops
Well, we got that big finale, the finale of the trailer, what I like to call the cheap finale. So kind of a cheap shot, but it's the Thor and Captain America.
Yep.
Why I say that, folks, is because I still am very kind of butthurt that they brought him back. And it's funny to say because, I just got done not long ago saying he's probably my favorite character, but that's some of the reason why, I feel very protective of this awesome story it is that we got. and I don't want to see them bring him back for the sake of messing up, their plans like they did for the multiverse, because they'll deny it. Everyone can deny it. They can say what they want, but there's a reason why this movie used to be called, Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, and we never saw any Doom until all of a sudden it changed when political things and things in actors' personal lives and or just plain old audience reception on bad movies. They made a big change, and I'm not against it. But I am against cheapening things that we got that were so good. And I'm not saying that's what's going on yet, folks. It's just that is my worry. Yet, I bet it is awesome seeing Captain show up and he says, "Hey, pal," and he reaches out his hand and Mjolnir flies through the air into his hands. And I'm fine with that. Because first of all, it's cool that he gets to. I'm glad they're going to continue him using the hammer. But at the same time, it's like, what's Cap going to do? I love Cap, but if Thor's dropping down on Doom with all the might of the Thanos Slayer, it's like, I mean, you're talking about the axe that tore right through the Infinity Stones, in a single moment. And Captain shows up. I mean, other than being an integral part of maybe why things are happening, and him being there could help fix that is all. And Captain's not going to be able to beat Doom up. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out and what that all means. If Doom's so powerful, Cap is limited. And they've done very good at being careful about where to put him so it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And by giving him, by giving him the hammer, does give it a little more equal ground, at least for some power, but once again, what are we talking about here? Right. So I still think it sounds cool, and I'm down for the ride. I'm still so leery about it, oh man, I kind of wish he wasn't back.
Yeah, well, as a Captain America fan myself, as you could tell from my amazing Captain America sweatshirt here, I too was both excited and nervous when I heard he was returning. Excited because he's my favorite Avenger, but nervous because they ended his story so beautifully in Endgame that and one of the problems I think you and I know off camera have talked about this, but now we're gonna say it live for everyone here to hear this, is that when you start making movies that are based between other movies that we've already seen, no matter what the character is, trying to tell their story or a story or whatever, you run the risk of potentially hurting those other films that are in the midst of it. And I think that it's not just for films themselves, it's for characters, because character development, as we're going to talk about with our retrospective on today's episode of Captain America, the First Avenger, the first film, Captain America is one of those characters that has a strong arc throughout all of the Infinity Saga, and you see it come to a beautifully done ending in Endgame. And it just was so. When we get to Endgame, guys, that's probably going to be like a 3 or 4 episode uh, itself for retrospective, just because of how much there is of Endgame and all that stuff.
I would even argue that his arc from this first Avengers movie to the end of Endgame is the only arc in the MCU that was part of a complete picture in the Infinity Saga. And I say that even with Iron Man being as prominent as it is. But when you look at Iron Man 1 and 2, you could arguably say that they really, I don't know, they're not really pulling all the inspiration from what happened there towards the end of his thing, other than saying, I am Iron Man at the very end, right? But for Cap, it's like after watching this movie, I realized, oh, wow, Cap's been very much involved in all the tools and all the past that goes into Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, each Avengers movie, so on and so forth, that as you go forward, Cap's fingerprints are all over this, from the Tesseract in this movie, and knowing Howard Stark, to how that all plays out, toward, knowing how Howard Stark dies, and we find that out in Civil War. I mean, so on and so forth. You could take Cap from beginning to end and say, if I had to guess, this would be this world's anchor being, if we're going to go by any of the rules that they put forth in Deadpool Wolverine. If there is one, it would be Cap, because he's very pivotal in absolutely everything that goes on, including taking the stones back to where they belong.
Yeah,
Like
that all his solo mission do that.
Yeah, it's like Cap. Cap has been that, and I think there's no mistake that when you get to the end and when everybody's all incapacitated and Cap stands up and there's Thanos and his army and he straps his thing and it's just him standing, that shot of him standing against the whole army. I don't think that was a mistake. I'm not saying it was, obviously they thought that through, but I do think that in the back of their heads, earlier than we might realize, that was something they wanted to do.
Yeah.
As early as Civil War, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think they had this idea of what they wanted to see those last 2 Avengers movies and who they wanted to use, and they...
For those pivotal moments, at least.
Yes.
Yeah,
the Cap
their arcs.
Very much part of
the
fabric of that whole thing.
So, yeah, finish your point. I'm sorry to interrupt, but...
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm trying to remember where I was at before, but...
Something about we don't want to see it being,
Oh, yeah, well, we just want to be careful.
Yeah.
Just Marvel and Russo brothers. I do trust you, Russo brothers. You are meant to come in as the saviors of the franchise right now with these 2 films. And if you have this purpose of bringing Steve Rogers in particular back, which we as Captain America fans are very happy to see, just have to be careful and tread lightly. Make sure that whatever story you're going to tell, it doesn't muddy up what we view of Captain America and what his story was originally. If anything, it's more of an expansion on it, not anything that's going to make us taint the water a little bit.
Yeah.
That's my only caveat I'll say to bring him back. Other than that, I'll take Steve Rogers any day.
Yeah.
So
to end that clip and to end this, so I have one question and we answer quickly. Do you think we'll get this trailer dropped online within the next couple weeks?
That's a very good question. I have thought about that, and I want to say yes, we're gonna, because I think there's enough people that have seen the movie, or seen the trailer, that have been talking about it, and then the inaccuracies that could come out about the trailer. It does bring up hype, for them and get them talking in the circles, of course, which is free promotion right there. And Lord knows if the rumored budget of $400 million for this movie is any ounce of truth to that, they're going to need as much free marketing as possible because they need to make this movie definitely over $1 billion to make this break-even point happen. But anyways,
I don't think any of us doubt it's going to make that.
Yeah. Oh no, I definitely think this is. I would lay money down. This is at least a $1.5 billion plus dollar movie.
Yeah.
And so I know that they sprung for more of a budget for the film, knowing that, oh, we're definitely getting this back. So, and honestly, most of that money there could be getting back some of these legacy actors we want to get back anyways, because most of these guys are big enough names that they all might come with a pretty penny to return for these films.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we joked earlier that $200 million of that is Robert Downey Jr. The rest of that is everybody else. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, just be careful with Captain America. I'm happy he's coming back. That's my only worry, actually, honestly, is how they're going to do Captain America, and then just to see what great story they're going to tell.
But you think they're going to drop trailer probably in the next couple?
Trailer, I would say by this time next week, by the time we do filming of our next podcast, I will not be surprised if this trailer comes out, because I think that just increases the hype.
Yeah, I think the same. I think within the next couple of weeks we're going to get the trailer online. I think we're also going to get it in front of Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And I think Spider-Man's post-credit scene is going to be the first full trailer of Doomsday.
We may even get this trailer in front of Mandalorian and Grogu, because that's
also very possible.
I believe that comes out in June.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they are concerned, from my understanding of it, because their Star Wars franchise, as you talked about before, you either really hate it or it's really good. There's no really opinion.
They do a whole, you have to see the movie to see this trailer thing.
Look what they do with Avatar. They wanted to guarantee butts were in the seat, so they did 4 teaser trailers of Doomsday to guarantee Avatar is going to get that money. I will not be surprised they put this trailer in front of Mandalorian and Grogu just to help boost those numbers.
Yes, you remember that, you Avatar fans, and you say, see how awesome that is? Yeah, with the help of Marvel.
Oh, yes.
Come on, James Cameron, make something original.
I just want to wrap up this segment with saying this. There is a re-release of Endgame.
That's right.
Coming out into theaters in September through something new called, well, we talked about on the podcast last time, but we speculated, is this a TV show or what is it? But it turns out, and I had to write down the description of it to make sure I get this right for everybody. The Infinity Vision screening. So I was curious what this was. I did a little bit of digging on this, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is after Endgame came out, it became the #1 grossing movie of all time, beating the first Avatar, until Avatar decided to do a re-release during COVID in China, and it boosted back up to #1. Well, I'm telling you what, boom. Endgame is coming back, and we are taking that spot again, Avatar. Anyways, so that's happening in this September, 2026. So I'm going to just read this little write-up I have on it just to understand what the Infinity Vision is, and then I could wrap up this part of this multiverse minute here. Disney may have taken this first real step toward challenging IMAX, and it did without building a single new theater. At CinemaCon, Disney introduced Infinity Vision, a premium large format branding and certification program for auditoriums that already exists. No acquisitions, no projector rollout, no new construction. Instead, Disney is leveraging current premium screens across major chains such as AMC, Regal, and Cinemark, the one that I like to go to, by placing a new Disney-backed identity on top of existing infrastructure. This matters because IMAX's biggest advantage has never been hardware alone, it's brand recognition. For years, IMAX has been the premium format audiences associate with the best theatrical experience. Its business model also benefits from partnerships and revenue sharing tied to premium ticket sales. With annual revenue around $410 million and strong margins, the IMAX name itself is a major asset. Disney appears to be testing that advantage directly. If moviegoers see Infinity Vision promoted for major Marvel and Disney releases, the company could be begin shifting consumer attention towards its own premium label rather than automatically defaulting to IMAX. And I'm telling you what, ladies and gentlemen, the main reason I think they're doing this is because Dune from Warner Brothers secured a big deal in taking up all the IMAX screens for 3 weekends in a row. And no one is blinking when it comes to moving their movie dates around. I know there's a lot of speculation that maybe Doomsday is going to take Jumanji's spot because Jumanji moved from the weekend before to Christmas Day, so they're free up 1 weekend at least. They could claim some IMAX theaters. They're going full on Doomsday for this event, and Disney is deciding, well, if we can't get IMAX, we're gonna make our own version to a degree. So, the technology gap also isn't what it once was. Laser projection, enhanced sound, recliner seating, and upgraded presentation are now common across many premium auditoriums. This means branding, exclusive content, and marketing may matter more than ever in deciding where audiences spend extra for a ticket. There's also a business incentive for exhibitors. Many theater chains already own and operate these premium screens. If Disney can drive premium demand through Infinity Vision without requiring major new investments, chains may welcome another high-value format option along with IMAX rather than relying on a single premium brand. The timing is notable, with major Disney releases such as Avengers Endgame returning to theaters in September and Doomsday arriving in December. Infinity Vision could receive immediate exposure through some of the biggest box office events on the calendar. That said, this does not mean IMAX is suddenly in danger. IMAX still holds meaningful advantages: global recognition, filmmaker relationships, proprietary camera branding, remastering technology, and a long-established premium footprint worldwide. But for the first time in years, one of the world's biggest content companies appears to be making a direct play for the premium format conversation. Whether Infinity Vision becomes a real rival or just another label will depend on whether audiences actually care.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be interesting to see. I'm curious to go see this in Infinity Vision for Endgame just to get a little taste of what are they talking about. So we're going to see that come September, and that was the other thing they announced at the CinemaCon. So that, along with the Doomsday trailer, that was a pretty eventful day for Marvel.
Yeah, it was.
And I think it did help soften the blow of the layoffs that happened just the night prior. So it's just their timing. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of the Avengers Doomsday trailer reaction that's going on right now? Is there anything notable that we missed on this reaction or on this explanation of it? Please comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Do you agree with our thoughts on these things? And what do you think of Infinity Vision? Do you think it's actually going to be the big deal that Disney hopes it to be? Or do you think that IMAX is still king? Let us know in the comments below. And with that said, that concludes our Multiverse Minute, even if it's 45 minutes, news section of the week. What are we going to talk about next?
Well, next we're going to go into our breakdown of Daredevil. We're going to jump right into our segment that we call Branch Point Breakdown, and we're going to go ahead and talk about Season 2, Episode 5 of Daredevil Born Again.
You got it. We'll be right there.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Goodell Multiverse, and we're doing the breakdown, or the Branch Point Breakdown, for Season 2, Episode 5 of Daredevil Born Again. This is an interesting episode. We're going to jump right in and just take a few seconds and talk about what we thought about this episode, a few things that's happened. This segment this time, guys, is going to be a little quicker. This wasn't too much for me to really get through. Let's go ahead and see what Sammy thinks first, and we'll go from there. And what do you think there, Sam? This Season 2, Episode 5 so far after a big episode last week.
Yeah. Oh, last week was huge.
Yeah.
Last week was
a season finale.
Yeah. Yeah. Last week was definitely noteworthy to talk about all the stuff that went on here. So we're only about halfway through the season, I believe now, and we're unfortunately, like my brother just alluded to, this probably won't be too long of a breakdown, only because, guys, when it comes to a TV show, sometimes you get a filler episode, and whether you think that this way or not, this indeed was a filler episode. It was definitely just a something to take like a little walk down memory lane for some of these characters. It brought back from the dead 2 characters that were fan favorites from the original Netflix Daredevil show, and I think that it brought them back in good taste. And I think it was just to further uh, never-ending story plot throughout this season so far. I didn't have too much of a wow factor to this, other than finding out that Vanessa really wasn't dead when you started the episode out. Spoiler warning, but now we're back at the same spot as we started the beginning with. Is she dead? That's basically how the episode ended. That she went back into slipping into something else, and we're gonna find out again if she is alive or not in the next episode. But other than that, I liked the scene of Foggy and Matt, and um, helping out one of Foggy's childhood friends' fathers, I believe, or brothers, something like that. I think that was kind of cool. I liked seeing a little bit of Vanessa's origin. It didn't get too deeply involved because honestly, the Netflix Daredevil show really did a great job explaining her already. If anything, this was just an additional extended opening scene for her before you got to see what she actually was like in the original Daredevil series. So there's not really too much to talk about here other than it's the only other new thing I guess that happened, because you didn't get too many characters in here. What you got to see, Wesley, that was from season 1 of Daredevil that Karen Page had killed. Rightfully so, and I remember watching that when that first happened. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be epic. But anyways, you got to see a little bit of how he was involved with that other new guy. I forgot his name at the top of my head, forgive me. But you got to see how this new guy is definitely taking on the Wesley persona of the Born Again series. So those scenes were kind of cool. Honestly, that was probably some of the coolest scenes. And getting his communications director there to kind of confess to actually leaking stuff out when he's trying so hard not to say he's part of it. So that really is the moment where I would say you saw his intimidation now and how he could be. Now you see with his origin, how he got started with Kingpin. So
yeah, I agree.
Other than that, I have nothing else really to say on this episode because, like I said, guys, it was a filler. It was nice. It was cool. It was something to watch. But I could have easily skipped this episode, and I don't think it would have made a difference so far. We'll find out later.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel bad because I feel like a couple of our news segments are going to be longer than this one this time, and that sucks because you want to break down a whole episode, and we could get real meticulous and break down scene by scene. But frankly, I'm going to give as much effort to that as they did by giving us this kind of crappy episode. I'm going to be harder on it than Sammy is, only because these are the kind of episodes of TV shows I really don't like. I'm not a big fan of the member berries stuff. I get it. We want to go back into the past and all that. And this is, and I'm coming from a unique position because I've yet to really get caught up on all the Netflix stuff. I'm late to the Daredevil party. So when they rely heavily on, like they did in this episode, on really feeling connection to what was in that old show, it lost me and that's my fault. I'm not saying it's their fault because I didn't watch it, but they grabbed me from the first season of this to where we are now. I'm like, okay, I'm in on this, and even getting through the member berries of what they want us to do with the other stuff. But this one was so heavy on it, where I'm like, what was this episode? Like, this episode is about 90% not present day, and I was really excited. I thought they took a big swing in the last episode when they killed Vanessa, and now she's not dead. And not only that, but we're going to do this long, elaborate goodbye and remember this and feelies that. And then we're going to get into, well, she's not going to be gone, guys, by the way. If she's not dead by now, they're not doing it. And that to me is a missed opportunity. Not saying I want the character gone. It's not that it's a bad character, but man, it makes for good TV and good drama when you take chances and you really do that big swing. Because, I was looking forward to an unhinged Kingpin. And okay, I guess we're going to get an unhinged Kingpin because he's mad about it and all that. But not compared to a Kingpin that lost something.
That's true.
actually. And that to me is different because we could have some really big epic finale coming up. If he lost her and she was dead, we could do a nice little 5-episode slow burn to some awesome thing that he does that where Daredevil's needed and that everything changes things around and everything. We start to go a different direction because this underground terrorism kind of feel of this show is going to start to get old. After a while, it's got to start looking the other way, or it's going to be just another show that keeps doing the same thing over and over again, which this episode felt like. And not that the acting that's bad. These guys are great. They all do a great job. Just frankly, it was boring. I kind of was watching it like, he's it's predictable. Okay, cool. Things I don't know enough about are happening now. Characters that I wish I knew better, but I still know are important that I didn't need to see more of to understand what's happening. And frankly, this conversation between him and Bullseye of this argument between justice and, when it's right to die for something and, where all of that moral ground is, I just feel like we've tread this ground already with him and other characters. And how many different ways are we going to look at it? We get it. We get it. And Matt's all about justice at every expense. Okay. Let's move on. So what's that mean then, And that's kind of where I'm at. This episode was a very big, honestly, folks, if you haven't seen it, just wait till the next one. All you gotta know is she's not dead. And right there, when it started out like that for me, I was just kind of, oh, come on. But it's okay. I get it. That's what these shows have trouble doing. And if Daredevil doesn't have the balls to do it, that's fine. You guys are still good writers. You're still making good stuff. It's great content. I'll still watch it. I might not watch it again, but I'll still watch it at least the one time. But if you want me to watch you again and continue on more, then hey, man, up the stakes here. Let's make this something. And let's make every season something. I can name five TV shows. I'm not even going to name any of them because I'd be in a big rant then we would be on here for an hour and a half. But I can name 5 TV shows that take multiple chances like they did last week and stick with them, and those shows ended up being awesome for those reasons.
So, because I kind of alluded to in the beginning, and this is just from my understanding of television, I want to ask you this as a question, Ike, about, do you know any TV shows that never have a dull moment?
There's
like a filler episode?
So look, every show is definitely going to have the good question. Every show is going to have some episodes where you're like, not a lot happened there. But there are my favorite shows though tend to not have episodes that feel like you're being retread again. So at the very least, I do know some TV shows that don't get boring. They might have some episodes where not a lot happens, or there's like a relief in kind of the craziness. I mean, when I think of the top of my head, I think of a show like The Shield. And that's 92 episodes to the entire series, or so. And there's only one episode out of those 92 that I can think of that was like, you didn't need that one. The rest, every episode, something happened. Or a key thing about a character comes to light, whether it's just to us or other characters in that storyline, that you're just like, I can't believe we're only like 4 episodes into a 12-episode season, and they're doing this right now. And then not only that, when you get to the next episode, they meant what they just did. Like they don't go back on it. And in the episode I'm alluding to in The Shield, there's an episode where they go back. There's like a prequel episode where they go back before the beginning of the first episode. So it's a little boring because wait a minute, we're already like, but I think it was just a filler because they needed to make 12 episodes that season. And then later on, you kind of realize some of the stuff in that episode kind of does play forward a little as well. So even then, there's payoff to something that didn't need to be there. Yes, Sam, there are many TV shows that I still love where I could, if you put a gun to my head, I could pick out an episode per season. That was probably the least good one, and that was probably one that wasn't necessarily needed. But I definitely could still name 6 where they're at the very least, the story felt like it moved forward still. And this felt like it stayed still in one spot.
I agree.
And to me, it's a waste of don't get me wrong, it's artsy, it's cool, and that's the direction you're going, awesome. But boy, you had me when I thought she was dead. I'm like, man, I couldn't wait to get to this episode. I was like, is the first time I didn't watch another show, guys, that I would watch before this. that I turned this on first. I won't do that again. As much as I can't wait to see the next episode, because I'm hoping they have good stuff, it's going to wait till probably the next day it comes out, because I'm going to watch that other show and watch it first, because that show hasn't disappointed me yet. And yeah, I'm that particular about it, because time is valuable, guys, and I watch a lot of movies. Movies is my first priority when it comes down to like any kind of fandom I have or something that I kind of indulge myself in. So when it comes down to TV, if it doesn't grab me and make me interested, I don't have a lot of boring television shows I watch. Nights I get home from work and I'm tired, maybe some Seinfeld, and maybe some Home Improvement. I watch MASH probably 100 times. Those are my go-to feel-good shows that I can go to bed to. But if I'm sitting down to watch something new, if it's not got me by episode 2 or 3, I'm probably going to wait on it for quite a while. And I know a lot of you'd say, sometimes you got to wait a few episodes. For me, my top 5 favorite TV shows, episode 1 had me hooked.
Yeah.
Hooked. And if you can't get me hooked by episode, I'll give you 3. That's usually my own personal rule. If by episode 3 I'm not somewhat invested in somebody and something, I'm moving on, man. It's 3 episodes. It's 3 hours of my time. I can watch a whole movie that makes me cry. Or 3 hours of something that I'm wondering if it's going to get good or not. Hook me or don't. And I'm not saying things that don't hook me are bad. Taste. It's all taste, guys. So when I diss this episode of this show, this is all just my taste. And if you happen to feel like I'm speaking to you through my taste, you're like, hey, I kind of like what this guy says because it sounds like how I feel about things, then my personal taste is to tell you, you can miss this episode. And frankly, watch a rerun of Everybody Loves Raymond because it's more fun than what I watch. It was just really, and I'm not, like I said, it's not because it's bad. It just was nothing.
This is an episode, in my opinion, to piggyback off what you just said, that if you are binging the show and all the episodes are released, like how Netflix used to do it, just release all the episodes, that's okay, because this is just one of the bingeable episodes. However, for doing weekly releases the way they've been doing it, especially when we got out of nowhere, episodes 2 and 3 dropped at the same time, this easily could have been an episode dropped at the same time of 4 or whatever the next one is.
Yeah.
Because it didn't live up to a hype in any way other than you just wanted to see a couple dead characters that are just appearing in the memory. That's literally all they're doing. It's not bringing anyone back from the dead, which I appreciate Marvel actually doing that, because that's one of the problems when it comes to some of these fantasy, sci-fi, superhero type movies and shows is that, you kill a character and you make it a meaningful reason why they die, like Foggy and things like that, and then all of a sudden you're going to bring him back because he's just so popular with the fans. Well, part of his popularity sometimes is how his death contributed to the overall story of what you're telling. And so bringing him back, if it's only in the memory, that's one thing. But as an actual fleshed out, like, oh, I never died, be like, you lose me and stuff like that.
Yeah, you see, this, you bring up a good point. And from someone that doesn't have the nostalgia of everything from Netflix in me. I got some, not a lot, guys. I still got to finish it, which I'm going to, because I'm going to be, if I'm going to say if something overall is good or sucks or not, I need to see it because it's only fair. So I will make myself, as much as I've had to push through some of it, I will. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. I do love this new iteration of this Born Again stuff. It's been great. But when I was watching him and Frank have conversations about Foggy, the times that there's arguments where Foggy gets brought up, or I understand through what they can do as characters, what that character or what that person meant to them. I didn't need this episode to jam more of it down my throat. I get it. Foggy's a good guy. Okay. He still yelled at his mom at some point when he was a teenager, guys. You're making him way too, it's almost like it just gets a little too much. It's like, don't cram it so much, because I kind of almost feel like this justice thing, it's the same point. It's like with Daredevil, crying with Bullseye about, justice, justice though, but justice. And it's almost getting to a point where it's like, you kind of sound like that Jedi from Star Wars. You're kind of a wuss, man. Like, get your hands dirty. I'm more on the Frank Castle side. Like, you're right, it is justice, but sometimes mofo's got to die. And it's like Batman gets that, at least the good versions of Batman do. And that's, I don't know. I'm not against the I get it. He's right. But at the same time, don't cram this like it is. Because this just felt if you didn't get it, we're going to remind you one more time. And it's like, I get it. Like, I do get it. You didn't need to show me. I didn't see it. And you didn't need to show me. That's how good you've done, is you didn't need to show me. You're showing me through how they react about just talking about these people. You don't need to go the extra mile and show me more, It's now I feel it's saturated, and it's almost like, okay, I'm with you on the justice thing. Now you just kind of sound like a wuss, And it's like, that's always been my argument with Star Wars. Like, the Jedi are cool, except they don't do anything preemptive. It's like this. Well, it's all peace until it's not, and then there's rules. And if you really think about it, guys, hot take: the Jedi are the bad guys of the universe. We'll talk about that someday
when we get into our Star Wars retrospective series.
Yeah, you want to talk about controlling your feelings and what you can think and things you can't do. Why can't the Jedi have families and fall in love? Come on, guys, what are we talking about here? What are you fighting for if you can't love things in life? Don't have any fear and all that. I don't know. Fear is kind of like that one thing that drives you to survive.
Same reason.
The fear of losing everybody. Don't they all experience that then? Isn't that kind of a contradiction, guys? Sorry, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I can pick apart Star Wars all day. Just letting you know, if they're not supposed to have any fear, then why are they even worried about everybody dying? What? Sorry, guys. Anyways, bringing it back to Daredevil.
Same reason why Catholic priests can't have wives. For some reason, even though God ordained it in the Bible and said it's okay, for some reason you can't. And then you see the Catholic Church have some problems here or there and be like, well, just let them have wives, as Jesus said you can. He's the bride of the church. Anyways, that's a religious hot take right there for you folks, and we are not a religious podcast. So back to Daredevil.
Yes, so like with this, but very similar with this. It's you don't need to cram it down our throats. Yeah. I love TV shows where by the end of the series, the point of the series comes together. And when it does come together, you realize, oh my God, from episode 1, this was that slow climb over the hill to it. And when it gets there, it hits you like a ton of rocks. And this is a kind of series, though, much like other series, is we already know what that is. And we're just kind of waiting for it to happen. And episodes like this perpetuate that, which makes it feel boring. Yeah. And that's where I'm at with it. Watch it, guys. Keep the show going. I think we should still entertain the fact that it's in there. Shout out to having Rosario Dawson show up as, she shows up as someone that helps out Bullseye, who's hurt. That's a unique little cameo of an actor to be in there.
I'm totally forgetting that she did.
Yeah, so if anything come out of it,
the first show.
Yeah, if anything come out of it, was nice seeing her again. But once again, member berries. So, cool. That's all I got to say. And Kingpin is the first time I could care less. I want to see the Kingpin start to fall apart. Okay, you could argue that we are, but he's not, because she's still alive, and there's hope, and there's this, and kill her. Just start the next episode with whatever happens, done, and let's just see this dude start to unravel, man. That, how fun that would be to watch the unraveling him and it come to a peak eventually, where then even everybody that's behind him realizes, oh crap, you're nothing. They already know how bad he is, but now they're going to know how really bad he is.
The only thing I'll say about this episode, just to help tie this up, because like I said,
maybe to make it feel better too, yeah.
Yeah, maybe make you feel a little better about it, and also that this branch point breakdown segment doesn't need to be this long for an episode. It really is kind of it's there. It's a filler, yeah. But I did find it interesting that when Vanessa does come to. And you could tell that she has some memory issues herself, which is kind of like interesting that the episode's all about memories and she kind of is slipping with hers because of her injuries. The nurse is trying to help her and see exactly what's going on with her after she wakes up. And Kingpin's like, no, get her that juice. Get her that pineapple juice or whatever it was. Like, get her that juice and get it now. Be like, I would think that my first reaction would be, oh my God, my wife is alive. Please make sure she's not bleeding internally right now or something going on, because by the end of this episode, she slips back into this question mark of, is she alive? Is she not? And probably, like I said, she's probably not alive. We'll find out next week when the episode starts. But like, dude, now you definitely did kill her. Like, you could have waited a brief moment and said, get an exam first, and I'll get you that juice while you're getting the exam. Something like that.
What if they're about to tell him that she's fine unless you give her pineapple juice? You know, it's like, dude, who acts like this anyways to the people saving your wife's life? Like, no matter how bad you are, even the baddest of the bad guys know when the help is necessary.
Yeah,
And this makes Kingpin, and this makes Kingpin feel one-dimensional. It makes him feel like that bad guy of, oh, why does anybody like you? You know, that's how I felt about Negan in The Walking Dead. The way he treated his people around him. No one's killed this guy yet. He treats everybody around him like garbage. If you have one time where you realize why they followed him, but there's no reason 10 guys don't just jump him and end his life. And they just don't because, well, he's a character that we need to have. And he's good at it. And he's fun. And he's quirky. And it's like, there's a fine line between this actor is doing a great job and this villain could be a great, awesome villain. And then all of a sudden he's silly. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Yeah. And that's for sure. That's how I felt. It's like, Mom, you're acting like nobody likes you. You know, it's like, we need to see the side of you that makes us feel that this is why someone could rally behind a man like this. Even if later on you still find that there's deeper, true, darker colors, you know, but when you're yelling at nurses about juice and stuff like that, it's like, okay, dick. So, you know what? I'm not going to tell you that she can't have pineapple juice. Let's give her all of it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, here you go, sir. You know, it's like, because that could have been the one thing that would have saved her life. It's just, whatever you do, don't ever give her pineapple juice.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
We won't know now.
Not Mr. Kingpin. He wants it in her now.
She didn't even like pineapple juice.
That's right.
He said that.
She's probably like, never had pineapple juice once in her life. And it's just something he wanted her to do.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
how much sense it makes.
And that is a conclusion then to this Branch Point Breakdown segment of our podcast. If you're just watching this as a clip on YouTube right now, please go online and check out our full video of the episode or other clips, of course. Please like, subscribe, and wherever you're streaming, I hope you're listening and I hope you're enjoying it. Next up, we're going to get into the main event. We are so excited for the Captain America First Avenger Retrospective. Yep, right there. All right, everybody. We are back, the Goodell Multiverse podcast, and we are talking about Captain America, the First Avenger.
That First Avenger, guys.
Oh, I am excited for this. As you could tell, like in our intro, I am wearing Captain America. So
I was just having a conversation with Sammy. I need to jump up on my apparel. I have no shirts or anything of Marvel. And I'm like, man, I better get ordering some stuff. Sammy's on it. Don't worry, guys. I will be decked out for X-Men. All right, you might even have Wolverine claws for X-Men. It might happen.
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be so fun. I've been looking forward to this episode because, of course, this is my favorite character of the Avengers, I will say. And that is after watching all of the Infinity Saga. Yep. I can say that Captain America, he's my man right there. He's good. He's good. Wanda's my girl. Captain's my man. So,
there you go.
Steve, I should say, just to be clear. So, let's see. So, I will give you a little bit of the history behind the film.
Yep.
And then we're going to get into each act. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about our favorite parts, the parts that maybe didn't work so well for us. I am trying to do a little bit better on my scoring because if you watch any of our episodes so far, I either really hate something or really like something. And so I'm trying to get that in-between numbers here or there, but like I said, I base a lot of these scores on my feelings. I'm trying to get a little more logical and factual wise than feelings, but it's Captain America, man. I mean, it's a tall order now. I don't know if I could go based off logic. Anyways,
that's why I'm here, folks.
That's why he's here. He's the good balance. And then, ironically, we get to some of the same final scores. So
yeah, pretty close.
I kind of like doing these series.
I just made it a rule to be as critical as I can. So even the ones I really love, you're going to hear me have some complaints. So just because I complain doesn't mean these aren't like the last movies we watched. Watch all of them; they're good. Mm-hmm. Like they're excellent. You know, I'm just also going to be as honest and straightforward. So at the end of this, when we give our final list of where we put them in there, it's as honest and straightforward as it can be. You know, of not just the movie or how it was made, or like all of the details to it. So,
yeah. All right. So, history behind the film. Here we go. Before Captain America, the First Avenger, ever rolled cameras, Marvel Studios had a unique challenge. How do you make a superhero movie set mostly in the 1940s feel exciting to modern audiences while staying true to one of Marvel's oldest icons? The answer became a mix of World War II adventure film, old school patriotism, pulp sci-fi, and heartfelt character work. Marvel needed someone who could play Steve Rogers before and after the serum, physically convincing as a hero, but emotionally believable as a small, overlooked kid from Brooklyn. Though many actors had auditioned, including Sebastian Stan, John Krasinski, Channing Tatum, Zachary Levi, Glenn Powell, Wyatt Russell, and Chris Pratt among the most notable, which, by the way, most of them ended up becoming superheroes later in their acting career. The casting director, Sarah Haley Finn, ultimately set her sights on Chris Evans. Now, Chris Evans was initially hesitant. He had already played Johnny Storm in Fox's Fantastic Four films and worried that committing to a long Marvel contract would be too much for him. Marvel reportedly pursued him multiple times before he accepted. At the time, Evans was coming off of films like Push, The Losers, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He was known more for charm and comedy than earnest heroism, which ended up working perfectly. His casting became one of Marvel's best long-term decisions, and I agree to that. Though Sebastian Stan wasn't the ultimate choice for the titular hero, he was cast as James Buchanan Barnes, aka Bucky, still an emerging actor known for Gossip Girl and smaller roles. No one knew he'd become one of Marvel's most important reoccurring characters. Even me at the time, folks, when I watched this. But Oscar-winning veteran actor Tommy Lee Jones brought authority and dry humor as Colonel Phillips. Best known for period dramas and stage work, Haley Atwell brought to life the kick-ass love interest Margaret Peggy Carter. Her classic screen presence made her ideal for a 1940s intelligence officer. She instantly gave Peggy depth beyond just a love interest. Fresh off iconic villain roles like Agent Smith and Elrond fame, Hugo Weaving knew how to bring gravitas to Red Skull. Director John Johnson was the perfect choice. He had already directed The Rocketeer, another retro patriotic hero story, and had a background in visual design from Star Wars and Indiana Jones. The movie filmed in London, Manchester, Liverpool, and Los Angeles sound stages. Why in the UK? Many streets still had the architecture that could convincingly resemble a 1940s New York and Europe. Everything had to feel authentic, from vintage cars to World War II uniforms to old storefronts to 1940s military camps and, of course, practical Hydra weapons mixed with retro futurism. The production also had to balance realism with comic book weirdness. Nazis with laser cannons? One of the biggest, yes, awesome is right. One of the biggest technical hurdles was the pre-serum Steve Rogers. Marvel used body doubles, digital head replacement, shrinking effects, and careful camera angles. This was impressive for 2011, and it still holds up surprisingly well. For comic accuracy and faithful adaptations, Captain America First Avenger kept the core elements that made Captain America iconic. Steve Rogers, as a frail but brave kid from Brooklyn, rejected repeatedly for service in the military, chosen because of character, not strength. Super Soldier Serum Transformation, Red Skull as Cap's first great enemy, Bucky as Steve's wartime partner, the Howling Commandos, and patriotic wartime symbol becoming a real hero. To appeal to modern audiences, a few changes were a necessity, such as Bucky was aged up from a teenage sidekick to an adult soldier. Peggy Carter was expanded into a much stronger character. Hydra became more sci-fi independent than just a Nazi command. Tesseract tied Cap into the larger MCU mythology. The movie feels different from later MCU entries because it leans into sincerity over sarcasm, adventure over spectacle, wartime commodity, and classic heroism. It's closer to Raiders of the Lost Ark than a modern quip-heavy superhero film. At release on July 22nd, 2011, some underestimated it, but over time, many fans appreciate it more because it built Steve Rogers as a genuine noble man first and superhero second. The groundwork is why Cap's later arc in Winter Soldier, Civil War, and Endgame worked so well. For the Rotten Tomato scores, ladies and gentlemen, the critics gave it about an 80%, which is not bad. Audience gave it slightly lower, between 75 to 76%. So critics liked it slightly more than general audience, but both gave generally positive reviews. The box office versus the budget. Now, here's where money talks. Production budget was approximately $140 million. The worldwide box office was $370.6 million. Domestically, it was about $176.7 million, while internationally was slightly more at $193.9 million. The profit picture, the film earned over 2.5 times its production budget, which is a success in any studio's book. After marketing and theater cuts, it was considered a solid, but not top-tier MCU financial hit. It performed well enough to firmly establish Cap as a franchise cornerstone, heading into the Avengers just 1 year later. While audiences saw at the time, the reaction was generally positive, but a little more measured compared to later MCU entries. People liked Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. He was widely praised. The 1940s World War II aesthetic felt fresh for a superhero film. Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter became an instant fan favorite, and what's not to like, ladies and gentlemen? Red Skull and Hulk Hydra's comic book villain energy, perfect, beautiful. The emotional sincerity, Cap felt like a classic hero, but not ironic or quippy. Common criticisms included a first act that was seen as slow by some viewers. Some thought was fairly standard origin story. A few felt it was less spectacular compared to other MCU films, like Iron Man or Thor. But over time, audiences' opinion has actually improved, especially after later MCU films. It's now often viewed as one of the most emotionally grounded MCU origin stories. Steve Rogers is seen as one of the most consistently well-written characters in the franchise, and that is very true, ladies and gentlemen. The film's sincerity aged well compared to more joke-heavy superhero entries. Without the first Avenger getting Steve Rogers exactly right, the MCU likely never reaches the emotional heights it later did. Tony Stark may have launched the universe, but Steve gave it a soul. So,
Okay.
that is our little history behind the film breakdown of Captain America, the First Avenger.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ike, why don't you read to us the official synopsis the Marvel released at the time?
All right. So here we go, folks. Captain America, the First Avengers, follows Steve Rogers, a frail young man who transforms into the super soldier Captain America during World War II as he battles the villainous Red Skull and the Hydra organization.
Right, that's what we're going to see throughout this whole film. What are your initial reactions so far to the history behind the film?
Very interesting with the history behind the film because there's a bunch of bullet points that you just mentioned from Chris Evans. There's a lot of things I agreed with it, but almost over half of them I disagree. So this is going to be a very interesting episode, fellas, or ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's surprisingly the scary thing about this one for me is we will get there. Let's talk about the history first. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised it made the money though, because you're coming off of all of them, of all these ones that made a lot of money. And when you come off of something like Thor, which was real good, at the time, yeah, that take all the money, that and it's one step closer to Avengers, and that's everyone can't wait, and it's coming. So
what I'll comment on when my card comes to the money and things like that is it didn't make. If you look at today's standards of an MCU film, a lot of people would say this is pretty bad. That's only because MCU has built itself to such a quality level film that if you get numbers like these, it means there's something low in the quality because you've built your fan base. So far, this is Steve's first film. This is the fifth film overall or fourth film in the MCU. We had Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor. So yeah, this is the fifth film of the MCU thus far. And they as we talked about in our last episode, that Marvel already took a big leap, stepping into more of the fantasy style with Thor, and that was a success. And this movie was a success too. But what I'll say for a personal point, from me at least, when I was growing up, I wasn't into period pieces revolving history. My dad, he could watch anything revolving like Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers. As I've gotten older, I appreciate those movies more, and I do watch them now. But when I'm younger and I want to watch a superhero movie, I see why the kids were more drawn to Iron Man compared to Captain America, because this film really, if you like history movies, even though this is fiction, my goodness, this is great for that part. And this is its own little slice of the MCU that honestly, for the rest of Cap's time, we don't get the same type of Captain America. Like, we get Captain America before the style of movie because it's the only period piece set during World War II and things like that. Everything else out of that is that man out of time scenario, or that we hear so much about how what made Captain America. So, this is definitely, I would say, a little bit more of an acquired taste if you are someone who's a little hesitant on history films. But I gotta tell you, if you like comic book films, this is pretty darn good and accurate. So,
Yeah. It doesn't require any homework. I think that's why.
Yeah.
As long as you understand this is World War II, you know who Hitler was, you know what was going on, you know that they were in a war. Everything else is going to be hand fed to you, which is not. It's not bad. That's not a slight at the movie at all. It just they're just like, just understand when this is, and that other than that, you're fine, because your villains and your group that he's with is completely fiction. You know, you don't need the Nazis to be like the Nazis were, because you don't think you see a real Nazi in the whole thing, other than, you know, who they were before they become Hydra, you know, or you know, Hydra's obviously fictional as it is. So it's pretty hand fed to you, like, which, you know, other things, like when you start getting to X-Men, it would help to know a little history, because what Singer did with making it part of history. But with this, you don't need to. It didn't need to do that. So
you're right. This kind of self-explained itself to you, which is good for the audience, honestly, because you don't have to be a history buff to know what happened in World War II when you watch this movie. Because you jump right into Steve Rogers as this guy that wants to be in the army so bad because everyone he knows is in there, and they're fighting literally a world war at the time, and he just can't get in because he's not what the army would be looking for. And then all of a sudden, he becomes much better than what the army would ever be hoping to get. So,
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
So it's like you just said, and like I just said already, it tells you the history of this, and it shows you that Nazis were real. What was happening during that time was very real, and that Hydra is just an extension of Nazism, and actually kind of like a, how would you say it? It became its own independent thing, which I think the movie did really well with showing you, hey, it may have started with Nazi roots, but Red Skull had bigger ambitions for the Hydra division of Hitler's whole
for sure,
plans. So which is cool. It sets up for a lot more interesting stuff later on in the MCU. So,
which, if you are a history buff, there actually was divisions in Nazi stuff, in Nazi lore, where they were trying to find things, like looking for artifacts and stealing things and doing that kind of stuff, because there were part of guys, they actually did believe some of the stuff this guy saw it. And Hitler, they were in some weird stuff. They thought they could make zombies at the time. You really dive deep into some of the darker history of what the Nazis started trying to do technologically and weapons wise. You're not far off from the ideas that you see in this movie, to be honest with you. Like, in fact, you know, I don't think many people realize that Germany during World War II made the first jet engine. So, I don't know if it's the first jet engine. I want to make sure I'm correct about that. But during any of the aerial battles that we had, they had the first jets, though. You know, the aerial battles at the time, they were very superior, because their planes and stuff they had. In fact, anything out of Germany was like more superior. They had a brand of tank that was much stronger than ours. It was just about the resilience and our style of fighting, and overwhelming them at the time is why we were able to win, which is great, because we needed to win that. But yeah, so there's actually some truth into this seeking, you know, harder, crazier weapons, and even having belief in some supernatural behind it. that the Nazis even tried to discover. There's some real dark stuff out there, guys. You find that they were getting into. So,
well, let's just dive right in, shall we?
Yeah,
gentlemen. So I will read for you Act 1.
Sure.
And then we'll get into everything about it. So, the making of Captain America. During World War II, Steve Rogers is a small, frail young man from Brooklyn who desperately wants to serve his country despite repeated rejection from the military. His courage and selflessness, impresses Dr. Abraham Erskine,
Close enough.
who recruits him for the Super Soldier program. Steve undergoes the experiment and emerges transformed into Captain America. Moments later, Erskine is assassinated by a Hydra spy, leaving Steve as the only successful super soldier. Meanwhile, Johann Schmidt, the Red Skull, uses the Tesseract to power Hydra's war machine. So, my brother Ike, what worked for you in this scene?
So what worked in this segment is I love this beginning stuff. I like the repertoire between Steve and Bucky in the beginning. I like this how he is. I like seeing him. That I gotta tell you, the special effects on making him look smaller, fantastic.
Oh.
Held up so good. I actually wondered how silly that was gonna look, and man, it looks great. Like man, he looks like it's him, And I love seeing the origin or the first time you hear him say, I can do this all day. You know what I mean? Like it's one of my favorite things that he does. Yeah, that worked for me a lot. I enjoyed that. What also worked for me was the surprise of Abraham. How do you say it? Erskine. Yeah. So I like him because he means Stanley Tucci, man. Like, what an actor! You want to talk about getting grade A talent, man? Woo-wee, he's so good. And that was believable. I like that he overhears them talking and what gets him interested. I like that Steve is by chance in the right place at the right time. Though that worked for me. That was believable. Sometimes you think, maybe that was weird. No, it actually worked for me a lot. Does this? Yeah. And when when we first meet Red Skull in the beginning, what a great, this meeting within the church there with, oh man, Hugo Weaving all day eats the screen up. Holy Lord. He's so good, guys. He does so good in everything he does. And you see it. You're like, okay, this guy is a scary bad. Because he's going to talk to you like he's your friend before he shoots you. Like you might think you're going to live, but yeah. You know what I mean? Like he'll give you a little hope just to take it away. And I like him. And you almost feel like you could negotiate with him. And what's neat about it is you actually probably could. Only if he's getting what he wants.
Yes.
If he doesn't get what he wants, it's over. But if he gets what he wants, he might actually let you go. Really, you might be able to get it away with it. Most likely not. You know what I mean? But like once again, it all depends. Like it's definitely he treads a neat line that makes you feel uncomfortable, but yet still, it's very vulnerable feeling at the same time. Yeah, I like. I love training montages, in the introduction of Tommy Lee Jones, ladies and gentlemen. The great Tommy Lee Jones. Anytime you hear his voice, it's commanding. It's perfect for the role that he's in. You can't get any better than that sometimes, and I like that he's part of this whole program of looking for this guy to do this, because it's not just he's in any unit. The unit that he's in is a unit to prove that you can be the super soldier that they're going to be. And even none of those guys really have no idea what they're talking about until we get there and we see it happen. So, and of course we get that in this, him turning to Cap into Cap. So that's awesome. Some of that stuff is cool. And the action sequence afterwards is real fun. And the action's great. And you get to see him learn what he's capable of as he's doing it. Finding out he can run fast, seeing how high he can jump, and just learning what he's like, and I love when the kid gets thrown into the water. He's like, I can swim. Just go ahead.
Exactly.
It's a great, you just get past the trope that always happens, and it's a lot of fun, and we will revisit this scene later for different reasons, but I definitely, for what we're talking about here, I mean, it does work. It's a good time. What you're seeing works a lot. Yeah. When it comes down to Well, how about for you, Sam? Let's go with you. What worked for you before we go? What doesn't?
Oh gosh, well, uh, like I've said, and you're gonna hear me say this. I know I've said this in the last episode. I'll keep saying it because this is the beginning of the MCU. Whenever you're doing an origin movie, it really is not that hard to tell the story. Because most of these characters, the reason why we love them and they're popular is because they had such a kick-butt origin and they became very popular in the comics that Marvel would even consider them getting their own solo film. So it's hard to make a movie like this and get it wrong when the character is already well written. It makes some creative liberties go ahead, but other than that, I think for this movie in particular, I think it was really well done. They really made you believe, one, the practical effects and visual effects so early on with making Chris Evans look like this tiny little dude.
So good.
Oh my gosh, I'm blown away. We are seeing, as we're talking about right now, some of it is on our screen that we have it playing in the background. So it's just kind of cool as we're talking about. We can revisit some things as we're discussing it, and it's crazy how they make him look. It's just I can't get over the practical effects that they did with him, and this isn't even in the AI time that we have now or anything
Right.
where you can say this was that. This is literally people doing creative things that make him look small. So it really was believable. It was really good casting Chris Evans. So good.
Yeah, genius.
Yeah, I liked it. I think that was really cool. I did think at the time, from what I do remember being young and watching this, that was bold. Because I knew him from the Fantastic Four films. So part of me thought, ooh, how are you casting Johnny Storm as Steve Rogers? Is that going to work? Guys, it works. It works really well. And I love when we get into Deadpool and Wolverine, how that gets into a little bit of a little like, ooh, that couldn't have happened if it wasn't done this way.
That's right. That's right.
Chris Evans, what a superstar, and how he is able to do this, because he jacked up for this role.
Yeah, my gosh.
Part of me is thinking, is that where the practical effects come in? But then you find out that was actually just him.
Yeah. Probably the biggest he ever is him.
Yes, I agree.
Almost ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was almost like, you might be too big.
It reminds me of Thor from Love and Thunder, where he just got like, if you could believe he could get amped up, he did. And this is like, whoa.
Yeah, I even think that it's kind of like, okay, Chris, next time you don't need to be quite as big. But that was a little much.
Too good.
Yeah, because holy Lord, guys. It's like, look at this guy. He's a monster.
Yeah. I love where he's the, what's his name? Dr. Abrahams looks at him and says, "Do you feel comfortable?" And he's like, "It's a little big." Oh, wait a minute. It won't be big.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was really cool. I loved how they showed New York City with them going to the carnival. And
Yes.
it was basically Bucky's last night before he was going to be shipped out.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was supposed to be like this double date thing, although Steve kept bailing on him because he just really wants to get in the army.
Yeah, man, just can't wait.
But showing Howard Stark's introduction, and then you got to see, okay, this is where Tony gets it from.
Yeah.
It's so good. The acting, the actor, oh my God.
Yeah, may I say, even though we saw a different actor play him and the others, obviously he's older, which is, you could even kind of say, I could see the likeness in it as he gets older. This actor, I noticed I'll bring it up in the other ones too, because I was going to bring it up later, but you just said his name, so I got to say it. He actually does a really good job at having the mannerisms of Tony's dad from those videos that you saw in Iron Man 2. I'm like, wow, just the way he talks and it says things just right, where you're like, okay, he actually studied that guy, and you can see that's that guy younger, you know?
The consistency.
He's like a nicer Tony Stark.
Yeah.
You know, he's still that kind of arrogant jerk, kind of, but he's nice when Tony's kind of a jerk, more of just a jerk.
Yeah. But it's a nice little like hint
of this
bigger universe. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Anyways, I like this first scene. First act, I should say. So, I feel like what worked for me the most was setting up the character for who Steve Rogers is and why he really is already a hero before taking the super soldier serum is really well done. And the moment I'll say that really stuck out to me is when, and I know we're going to mention it later because I know I wrote it down. Actually, I wrote down in this same thing for my standout moment is when Tommy Lee Jones's character. By the way, great casting.
Oh man,
Tommy Lee Jones, you are a legend, dude. You are so good. I love your films. You just, Oh, I actually would have been disappointed if they did this movie without him in it, just because he just fits it so well.
I could watch Tommy Lee Jones read a book to me.
Oh, oh my gosh. So good. One of my favorite films outside of Marvel is Volcano, that he's a star in it.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my top 10 favorite films just of all time.
I'm a big Fugitive fan. And him and Harrison Ford. Perfect
so good.
stuff. If you know the reference, you know what he said. I don't care. You know what I'm talking about. Tommy Lee Jones.
He's really good at the jokes in this film. He does it really well. He plays that good type of that general that's a little like a grouchy general that has good quick quips about it, they're entertaining, but also that drive a point. They're really good.
The best part about his sense of humor is he doesn't ever tell a joke. He just knows when his seriousness makes it funny.
Yeah.
So like when this guy says this, you say, he knows I can say it just like I would normally say that at this moment, and that's when it's going to be funny. Yeah. And he just knows it. It's so good. Yeah.
It's so good. But I love it when he throws the dummy grenade, the fake grenade. And this is where I say it worked for me for Steve Rogers in particular, and why I just love him as a character, even before the super soldier serum. Everyone else ducked and tried to run away from that grenade because they thought it was a live grenade. Steve jumped on it. This little dude that, if this grenade blows up, he's not saving anybody because he could like blow away in the wind. Still, it just shows his character, and he's just that guy.
Yeah.
He's just, it doesn't matter how small he is, his heart is so much bigger. His courage, his bravery is so much bigger. His determination, his tenacity is so good that's where I'm like, this is to amp this up into the super soldier serum that we see in Act 1. I tell you,
that's your standout moment for sure.
For me, that is my standout.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
That's the character defining moment for me that echoes throughout all the rest of the time that we see Steve Rogers as Captain America.
It's funny you say that because my standout moment is similar. In fact, I was juggling. This was for a while going to be that, because it speaks to who he is, which is kind of funny because it's always what he's preaching differently later, right? You know, what's he say to Vision later? It's like, we don't trade lives for lives, even though he's very willing to trade a life for a life, which he still is even at the end of this movie. But I was like, okay, yeah, other things that happen in this that do show further on, like who he is as Steve Rogers. Not only is he the good guy, and not only is he going to be the one that makes that decision to jump on the grenade, so to say, if that means he'll risk everything to do what's got to be done. It also shows that just beyond the goodness of him, that he's smart. He's a very smart man. He's not just a good guy making good decisions, selfless, all these awesome things that this doctor saw in him. He's also a very smart guy. And I love the scene with the flagpole when they're all trying to get up it. And he just kind of stands back looking at it, because when you think in the future wise, when you think of Avenger, you need a guy like this that can look at a situation and go, what's the best way to solve this problem? And he just walks over and unhooks it and it drops. He's using his weakness that he knows he has and factoring into what he has to get done, and he goes and gets it done. That determination also is something that I think speaks volumes to who Steve Rogers is and why he's good as Captain America, which I think is why we have trouble with all these other actors trying to be him, or the thought of replacing him, because if you don't have that determination, or you don't have that know-all or that know-how to do that and keep the calmness to do it, and you keep your head about you, even when you know you're the weakest one in the group, then you're going to resort to violence and making bad decisions. We saw Walker do it in the show as, Walmart Captain America. So I'm going to say that for my standout moment, for that reason, because it's like, this is another side of him that is just as real as this one is, because yours is a perfect standout moment as well. And I think they go hand in hand in what speaks to who he is as a person and how it carries throughout the whole thing, and what he's willing to do and how he's willing to use his head. You know what I'm saying? I just love he was like pulls the pin and the flag hits the ground.
And I love how it's like he's heavy breathing from it, because they all were just running, and that was a challenge. As the first person to get this flag off the flagpole and give it to us.
Yeah.
You take a ride with Peggy on the way back to camp. All these guys are trying to jump on, trying to climb it and all that. And then they all walk away because they realize they can't do it. He is still huffing and puffing because he's like the last one there because he's the weakest among them. He just pulls the pin, falls down, he grabs it. He's still huffing and puffing with his mouth open, throws it in. He's like, and he sits right in there like, I did it.
Yeah. It kind of and it throws that theme out there that we see throughout the movies going forward. That in his eyes, there's always a way somehow. You just got to find it.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you fail at finding it, you look for it because it's there. And that's what we get. That's how we get Endgame.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a way, right? And yeah, it's great. What a great scene.
Oh, yeah. So good. So out of all this that we talked about and all the high praise we gave it, is there anything in this first act you would say that didn't work for you at all?
Absolutely. I I have to tell you, I'm watching this movie, and this is coming from a guy who's seen a bunch of stuff, guys. And I really, really hold story and like continuity and gravitas, or what you would call verisimilitude, is something that is very important. And for the life of me, I can't understand what these two assassins were trying to do when they killed this doctor. You got a Hydra guy who sends out these dudes to kill the doctor, not only kill the doctor, but steal the serum. And you decide to do it when they do their test, when they're all on duty, everybody's there, everything's going on. So we're going to do it now. And then they do it. And there's this huge, awesome chase. All the action stuff is worth it. And for the guy to get to a one-person sub. So you're telling me, so your whole plan was two guys are going to attack, do all this stuff, get away, but one's still going to stay and die because there's only a one-person sub that is in the water waiting for him to get away. I don't know. It's just, it felt, this is where this movie went to Indiana Jones for me, where it's like, okay, this is the convenience of what we need to do, and it's going to look good enough and be a fun enough action sequence that you're just going to forget that this doesn't make any sense. Because if you're going to go assassinate this guy and take his serum, why didn't you do it the night before when he's laying in his bed? These guys are so dangerous and scary. And I get it. Story guys, I get it. I understand that. I know that that might be being nitpicky. And this, it is kind of nitpicky. But it's just for some reason I couldn't get out of my head. I'm looking at this like, man, this action sequence is awesome. And that's why it's hard to take points away from it, because we needed a sequence like this to see him being Captain America for the first time. But I'm just kind of like, yeah, but at the expense of like what? Of any kind of logic making any kind of sense, you know? And this isn't the first time this movie does this for me, but this is definitely a moment in it that made me go, huh, this is a weird, unnecessary moment in this, but yet still necessary. I just wish the writers would have thought it through a little more.
Because I feel like, so the only thing I would say about this scene that to address your what didn't work for you for that is I think that the spies wanted to know if the action was working. So they wanted to.
I can understand that.
They wanted to see him emerge and look like the super soldier, and then of course they had bombs planted, so they were all ready to take on this whole thing.
Yeah,
But
they're so infiltrated to set bombs, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt a little sloppy.
I get it.
And they still only planned for one guy to get away.
Yeah, almost like that. Which I do agree to that. Because from my understanding, yes, it was a one-man sub.
Yeah.
That was.
So was the other guy just going to be like, well, we got here, see ya.
Yeah.
I want to bite the cyanide now. Maybe that was the plan. Maybe. You can say a lot of maybes, but guys, if it's not shown, we don't know, right? And that's kind of not saying you have to be that way, but you can't leave up to the audience to assume that that's kind of how that was going. I can give you that they wanted to see the serum work.
Yeah.
And that's why they chose that moment. Cool.
And that's what they're
But
like,
their getaway
doctor.
was what? Jump in a car and drive away? You know, come on. Drive away from a military institution in the middle of the city where it's probably got all the guards in the world, including someone that just come out that's probably a super soldier like your boss, and you're going to outrun them and get away. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt a little, it was just, we need an action sequence, so this will work. And it did. It did its job.
It was very dramatic.
Yeah, it did its job.
The emotional part of seeing the doctor die, Steve holding him
100%.
as he's dying, and he points to him like, that's why I chose you.
Yep.
What's in here type thing.
I have zero problem with what we saw. It just, when I think story-wise, I'm like, huh, kind of tough. And that gave me that Indiana Jones tickle, which there's good Indiana Jones movies and there's bad ones, and it reminds me of the bad ones. So, but that's it. Other than that, it's fantastic.
It is creative, though, that he used the lighter.
Oh, yeah, it's
The
awesome.
lighter never lights up, but that is like the remote.
Yeah,
bomb.
a lot of good stuff.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Like I said, it's not necessarily what we got out of it. It's just why we got it is kind of why'd we do that, you know?
Yeah. Well, for me, I can't say anything negative about this first part. That's just me. I thought things worked out for me. But what would you give your overall score, though, of the first act?
I give it a solid 8 for sure for that reason.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And I, of course, being as just like
it's okay.
Just like Americans saying I love you, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. We throw that around sometimes a little too casually, but I love it.
Yeah, hey, I mean, trust me, guys. I don't go into it looking for these things to complain about.
Yeah.
I'm just going to speak what sticks out to me. And
yeah.
There's even a scene in the movie I think is the best movie in the world that I would tell you doesn't need to be in a movie. And it still makes it the best movie I think in the world. But there's still one scene that you just didn't need. So like I will always be honest. You know what I mean? And that's how we're going to go with it.
That movie is Dark Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, it's a masterpiece. You know, it's a masterclass on the best filmmaking you ever want to do. You know, if you want to know how to make great filmmaking, Dark Phoenix. I'd rather film dog poop.
Which movie would you rather, or which show or project would you rather, She-Hulk or Dark Phoenix?
Oh, Lord. That's not even a fair question. I'm going to say She-Hulk.
At least that had a little more comic accuracy to a degree.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't break my heart because She-Hulk to me is a fun character, but nobody I really loved. When I see what they do to someone in Dark Phoenix, it's like, there's only one thing in Dark Phoenix I enjoy, and that's the sad part. Just one thing. Wait till we review that, guys. It's only one thing I'm going to say nice about that movie. So I'm going to save that though until we get there.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. You stay tuned. All right. Why don't you read to us Act 2?
Yeah, Act 2. Okay, so the rising conflict. Okay, from symbol to soldier. Rather than being sent into battle, Steve is used as a propaganda mascot selling war bonds. Frustrated, he takes matters into his own hands after learning his friend Bucky Barnes may be alive behind enemy lines. Steve successfully rescues Bucky and other POWs, proving himself in combat. He then forms the Halloween Commandos with Bucky and begins leading missions against Hydra strongholds across Europe. As Steve becomes a real wartime leader, he grows closer to Peggy Carter while Red Skull prepares a final global strike. Bum, bum, bum. So, Samuel, what worked for you in this? And did the pacing hold up? We'll go with both those questions.
Okay. All right. What worked for me was seeing that Steve Rogers, and in all reality, he is a natural leader. He's just a natural born leader. No one had to train him to be a captain, so to speak. What I love about this, it's funny, I wrote this as part of what I didn't like too, but at the same time, the more I think about it, the more I could appreciate it a little bit more for Captain America. How do you make the title and the suit of Captain America not seem too corny and silly? Well, Marvel's like, just play into the corny and silly. And then that just became his persona for being in combat. And it's really kind of cool. So I like that he is like a natural born leader and will strategically take it upon himself to go behind enemy lines to do what he feels is right. That was great to see in that sequence. That everyone was telling him you can't do much of anything, and they were not only throwing him out of the military because Tommy Lee Jones's character, the colonel, was like, "I asked for an army, you're just one soldier. I can't use you." And some senator was like, "Well, you'd be great for propaganda," which, funny enough, that they did this because that specific way. Because Captain America, the character in the comics, came out during World War II. And he was made through Timely Comics that later became known as Marvel Comics from the great godfather of them all, Stan Lee. And he was kind of the in real life propaganda piece for kids during the war with comic books. So to make it where they turned him into that in the movie, and it is a perfect way of giving an excuse to give the outfit the way he looks and the title and things like that, and put a face for people to see what our soldiers could look like type thing or what they're doing.
Yep.
The more I think about that, even though it's a little corny, I think it was strategically done.
Yeah.
That way. I think that was a great compliment to what originally had happened in real life. So I think that was kind of cool. So there's a lot that I liked about this. I like that he decided to take matters into his own hands, and I like that his relationship with Bucky. You could tell it's a genuine friendship. We were talking earlier about on this podcast about the Tobey Maguire Peter Parker and how his friendship with Harry Osborn, played by James Franco, felt genuine and deserved more so, which probably is a hot take to people watching this, than Tom Holland's Peter Parker and Ned. That
That's right. Oops, sorry.
Their brotherly relationship was a lot more authentic, and I think that you see the same thing between Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes. Their brotherly roles to each other were very authentic. Bucky still was friends with this little dweeby guy, even though he knows that he wants to go into the war. He actually, funny enough, you don't hear people ever be envious of wanting to go into service.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Only during this time period do you hear that.
Yeah, only during this time period. And that's why I think Steve is such an interesting character in and of itself, is that it's not just, it's kind of like what happened in real life to America after 9/11. That there's this feeling of patriotism where it doesn't matter what your strengths or weaknesses are. You see an evil that's happening and you want to be part of the change to correct it. And that's what Steve really is during World War II at that time. We hear that in real life with so many brave men and women in the U.S.'s armed forces nowadays that got into the Iraq war because of how strongly passionate and patriotic they were after seeing their country get attacked. It didn't matter what color you were or what political aisle you're on. And same thing with Captain America. We didn't need to know if Captain America was a Democrat or Republican. We didn't need to know if he was racist or not. He's not. But, we didn't need to know all those extra little stuff that we like to divide ourselves with. There was one common thing, and he just wanted to serve his country. And he got to do it now in two different ways. One as this propaganda thing that helps sell these bonds, I believe. That would help them with more bullet manufacturing and things like that. So he helped in both the propaganda part and then actually going in and leading and saving so many American lives. That's so cool.
Yeah.
The patriotism is dripping within this movie. And as someone like me who's very patriotic for my country, it just so happens to be the same country that Captain America is, it just made me love it even more. So
what didn't work for you?
There was not much, honestly.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would say the propaganda stuff that I see now in retrospect, the necessity of them filming it and doing it the way it is. But if I was watching the movie, I feel like I don't need to see that part. It never played any consequences later on, other than just a creative way of him getting his outfit.
Yeah.
Which was like PJs. But
really was. Yeah.
And of course, wardrobe during that time, making a superhero outfit, I'll give you some slack there, because ironically, in this same movie, his own suit upgrades by the end of the movie.
Oh, for sure.
Which is so cool to see in one movie,
Yep.
It kind of reverts back in the first Avengers movie, unfortunately, but oh well, we'll get to that when we get to that. But for this movie, it was the propaganda stuff. Maybe it was a little bit too much. It was cool to watch, but it wasn't consequential. So I'd say that I could go about that. That's the best way to say it. What about you? The pacing. You asked me the pacing.
Yeah.
There definitely were times where it felt like it was slow during the second act. I think it's because they crammed so much into the first act that
There is a lot, yeah.
yeah, what were they going to flesh out in the second act to make us stay engaged? I wasn't bored at all, so I'm going to say that the pacing would hold up for me because of that. But that's probably because I was already invested in the character and just want to see more screen time. Where I can see if you're just a casual moviegoer, an MCU goer, and Captain America just isn't your guy, but he is the guy you're going to be watching type thing. I can see where that would have been a pacing issue for someone. So there are definitely low points in it.
Okay.
But for me personally, I think I held up.
So yeah.
What worked for you in this?
So what worked for me is the propaganda stuff. I actually really enjoy this stuff. I think it's not something I thought I would enjoy, but when I watch this movie, it makes me smile. It makes me laugh. It's fun seeing him struggle with it because you feel like you're getting to know him personally in those moments too, and it's so all over the top, and I think that's what's silly about it, and then later, like when you see in like Spider-Man when he does those videos they show in gym where he's talking about, who do you like to exercise, kids? It reminds me of the propaganda stuff where it's like, as bad as he didn't like it then, he still went and made these videos. Like he's still a guy that gets that this means something, and he'll always be that. So like I like that. That works for me a lot. And once again, more stuff that worked for me was the stuff with Tony's dad. I love every scene he's in with them. I do, and I enjoy that a lot. Let's see. The pacing was good. That's why I like this. I like the propaganda stuff. I like the idea of him being put in the back, and I think the pacing of that is great. And I think it holds up to where it's supposed to go. And he does his old Captain America thing where he's being given orders that he knows is ridiculous, and he knows he can make a difference. And when it comes down to Bucky, he's going to do the opposite and go save his friend. I know some people think that that's something that gets repeated, but in the repeating of it in the 3 different movies that he has, it's in all different reasons. And it's all for the same purpose, that talk about this is Bucky always ends up being that conduit of the person that's going to get the short end of the stick, whether it's being left behind as a POW in this one, or whether it's being just, knowing that he's a good guy that's being controlled in the next one. And then same with, Civil War, where it's like, we can't let the government do this to him just because they want to control us. And he's going to be the one they use the example of, right? So it tends to be Bucky ends up being the one that takes the brunt of this stuff. And Bucky's just lucky he's got a friend like Steve, man, and Steve is just going to do what he's going to do. So yeah, that all held up for me. What didn't work for me in this, I would have to say I'm not a big fan of the chemistry between him and Peggy. I don't have a problem with them having it. Why I don't have a problem with it is because obviously at the end of everything, I like that that's his conclusion that he gets with her, and I like that they have it. I believe that there's something there. I don't know. She comes off as too brash for me, and I would just say at those moments I didn't feel the emotional connection. I wouldn't say it's detrimental, but it just didn't work to the point I think they want you to feel it. It's the idea of him having someone that he loves that worked in the future for me rather than their actual chemistry. You know what I'm saying?
Dare I say this, and this could be a hot take, is that I find Tony and Pepper's relationship more authentic.
Way more.
Than Peggy and Steve. Only because when you watch this movie, to piggyback off what you just said, is that that most of the time she's looking at him in somewhat admiration and just like I'm looking out for you as type of figure than more of a romantic interest. And then when you do find out, yeah, he's flirting with her, I'm going to take you to a dance and you still owe me a dance and all that stuff.
He gives me big brother vibes.
It's funny how it's that's something that he just has a flame for. At the very end of the movie, you find out he really has the flame for her, and that he holds on to for so long that it's nice, like you said, when you get to Endgame and you get a payoff for it, but it's hard for me to believe that is your love of your life type thing.
Right. Yeah, we only care because we care that he gets it.
Yes.
We don't care that it's her.
And he deserves it.
Right.
But it wasn't where it had to be.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that satisfaction of, and she gets it too. No, I just cared that he got a good story ending.
Yeah.
That he got the love of his life. As weird as that sounds. And it might be the only time I can think of in film history, for me personally, that works. It still works, even though it's one-sided. Because often it's like, well, I could give a crap about one of these, which makes the whole love story go to crap, right? But with this, I really don't care about Peggy. I really don't. Like, I see why she's a standout. I think she's a great actress. I don't have a problem with it. I still like watching her when she kicks butt. I like seeing her later when we see her in other things. But ultimately, though, it's like their relationship, though, I just didn't feel like, he could have fallen in love with somebody else, and I still would have been just as happy for him at the end. As long as he was able to get that story that he wanted, like Tony said, you should have had a life. Go get a life. And he did. And it's with Peggy, of course, but it didn't matter. Yeah. It was just, he got it. That's all I cared about. Best character moment for me is Red Skull and him meeting on when they rescue Bucky in that. Red Skull is awesome in this moment when he first takes his mask off and throws his face off and throws it into the fire, and then you reveal just the way he talks, his dialogue, the way he holds himself. It's not over the top, but yet it's almost over the top. It can't be enough. And Steve, well, why are you running then? And the doors close. And I'm like, that's a great scene. And that's my favorite character. I specifically for Red Skull, but also for everybody involved at that time. But Red Skull specifically, I'm like, I like this guy. I like this bad guy a lot.
Yeah. No, he's a really, I agree with you that the face reveal, the practical effects that they did, because that's all practical effects too. I don't think any of that was CGI. I think they...
Boy, it's hard to tell if it is.
Because if I remember right, I think some of the behind-the-scenes footage of some of this is him, Hugo Weaving, sitting in there putting on all the prosthetics to make it nose look the way it did.
Yeah, they might have some touch-ups in CGI, but...
But overall, oh my.
There's a style to this movie that I have a love-hate relationship with. Where this style works is in those moments. Like in all the high-tech Hydra gear stuff and the giant plane wheel and how everything's way bigger than it should be and how the weapons and how he looks and acts, that works in this style. Some of the other times it doesn't for me. Like with the good guys, I don't care for the style. The action in this is mediocre. In this might be part of what doesn't work for me. It's the actions. It's not bad, but it's not stand out. Yeah. And the stylistic part of it is it's more showy. Which is, I get it. That's Indiana Jones. And that's what they're going for. It just didn't sit with me well. So that's where I go with that.
My favorite character moment. It involves a little bit of what you just said, but yours was very more specific. I think my more specific part is within the same scene to a degree and the same part. It's Steve infiltrating the where the prisoners were.
Yeah.
By himself, who has no military experience to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
That it's just like I said, it comes back to this natural born leader thing where he learns how to be quick on his feet.
Yeah, I agree.
What I like about it is that it's not one of those films where he becomes a superhero and you have to watch him struggle to learn how to be that.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's a natural instinct in him already. It's just that super soldier serum enhanced him where he can execute things in the way he's thinking in his head. We don't have to go through this montage of him learning, I could jump super high, or learning, I can run super fast. It just happens because it's in the moment.
Mm.
I love that stuff. I think that's really cool. You don't have to explain his training because he doesn't need any training. It's just he knew what. Honestly, if he didn't have the super soldier serum, he probably would have done the same thing. He just couldn't break down the door, do those other stuff that only the super strength could have.
He'd have tried anymes.
Oh yeah,
it's just now he's able to do it. Yeah,
jumping out of the plane like the way he did in the beginning of the whole thing when it wasn't his time yet. Peggy wanted to get him closer. That's completely all just Steve, and it worked so well for him, and it just is a great reminder of. You don't want this guy going after you.
No,
because he will know how.
He's gonna find a way.
Yeah. He'll be nice about it, but also
he could do this all day.
So that's probably my favorite character moment is him demonstrating in action his natural abilities.
Yeah, agreed.
Being a leader and finding his friend. He was the only one to believe
that's
he
a big
was alive, and he found him. And
his friend is like, "Who that? You were smaller." So, but he accepts it real quick.
What was the? I'm trying to remember the line. Bucky says, what happened to you?" And he said, "I joined the army."
Yeah, it's like right after Bucky's like, "Is it permanent?" And he's like, "So far."
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's like their banter's great. They're great.
That's the one thing about this before we get into that final act there about the movie overall is that one of the cool things that we start noticing in Marvel films, they didn't have to push the funny because it was just a natural.
There's some natural things. You're right. Yep. In the character work. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And this movie's a great example of you easily could have labeled this as like a half comedy adventure. And it wasn't heavy in comedy, but when the comedy came and it landed. Like when it was dealt, it landed.
Because it didn't feel like a joke. It felt very, very real, authentic.
Yes.
Between two people. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think a lot of the films now, when they're trying to say, "Oh, we have to put comedy in there," I feel like it's more of a effort where this is just so effortless. It's just like natural banter, like you said. Anyways, your score on Act 2.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, I did the same thing.
Yep. Very solid.
Yep. All right, I will read the final acts, the climax,
Okay.
the sacrifice, and the man out of time.
Holy moly.
After Bucky is seemingly killed during a train mission, Steve launches a final assault on Hydra's headquarters and boards Red Skull's massive bomber. During their confrontation, Red Skull is seemingly consumed by the Tesseract's energy. Realizing the plane is armed and weapons bound for major cities, Steve chooses to crash it into the Arctic, sacrificing himself to save millions. He later awakens in the modern day, where Nick Fury informs him he has been asleep for nearly 70 years, making Steve a man out of time. All right, Ike, did the ending land for you? Why or why not?
I have mixed feelings on this, folks. This is where the movie goes off the rails on me. The ending lands. I like him sacrificing himself into the ice because it still contradicts him later, but it doesn't contradict him. He doesn't want to see anyone ever give at their expense for his life, but he is very willing to give his. So it's a positive contradiction is what I'd like to call it. So I dig that about him, that ultimately in the end, he gave his life for millions of people's lives, So later when he's kind of like arguing with a robot like Vision, you kind of want to look at him and say, Steve, he is just a robot. But anyway, but it's like, but that's Steve's heart though. He's like, if it's not me dying, then you can't. Not fair. Because I'm going to be the one. That he's also a guy that he's out of place his whole entire life. So anyways, I often will argue later on, and when we get to other movies, that Steve feels like his time has come and gone, and he's on borrowed time as it is. So he's very almost willing to go the extra mile all the time, because technically he should have been gone a long time ago. But very similar to another character that we've been talking about, like Iron Man, right? Wink. That's why it's so good, those two. Anyways, because it's the same coin, but from different directions. So, the ending landed for me. Yeah, I will say that. And I love him waking up 70 years later. Great ending, because not only is it like now we're present day, boom, there it is, hits you right in the face. And then getting Sam Jackson like that. Sweet. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's just one step closer to this group movie that we can't wait to see. Excuse me. That we can't wait to see. So, yeah. Yes, the ending landed. The flight to the landing pad was a little rocky. But we'll talk about that as we go.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I honestly, for me, everything you just said is exactly how I felt. Exactly. I even wrote that down when it came to the ending land for me. I'm like, I have mixed feelings. I agree that how they did it was definitely well within his character.
Yep.
Him sacrificing himself for somebody else. He will never let someone do it for him. He'll do it for you type thing. I love that he was frozen in the ice and then they found him and he woke up 70 years later. I think that's really cool. Very comic accurate, of course, which I love comic accuracy, and you need something like this to bring this type of into the Avengers. He is like the de facto leader of the Avengers. Yep. You got to have him in there like this. I just have to say, and this, maybe you could consider this a hot take for this scene or this act, but part of me is thinking, I think you could have jumped. but I don't know. Like, if he was intending on, and this is not a nitpick, by the way, I loved it. I loved how the scene played out. I gave it a good score and everything. I love how when they made this choice of committing him to doing this type of sacrifice, it was well within character. Nothing was deviated. So all great. But part of me still thinks that there could have been a way where he's like, I'm just going to let this nose dive, but I'm going to jump out.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have gotten what we got, of course. So obviously that couldn't have happened, folks. But part of me is thinking, what if there was a way they could have made it where he was like stuck on the plane? Something where he couldn't get out, so he chose to do the sacrifice.
It's funny how we have issues with storyline things at the opposite ends of the movie. Where I have trouble with the whole idea of him running in New York after the guys. It makes no sense. Here, I actually kind of took it as that was his way of like, I'm going to make sure this happens because it can't ever. I can't jump out and then look over and see, oh no, the plane didn't crash deep enough or something crazy. He's going to hold that throttle right down to and he's going to make sure it. I think it's more of just him following through. Because I agree with you. Jump, dude. Like, just jump.
He's already proven in this movie so far he can jump heights.
You'll be fine.
Survive.
We'll work it out, right? Like, you walk it off. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, it did kind of show. But there's something that could have happened earlier in this part of this movie that would have made that feel more earned. And I will give you this: it doesn't feel earned that he just stays in the plane and flies it into the wire. For sure. Although I do get that I'm going to do this to make sure it's done. That I get. But you could have done something earlier to make that happen. And I'll get into that. I'll tell you that right now if you want. My biggest issue is this. Bucky died like a bitch. And I think Bucky should have died saving his life. And if he sees Bucky doing something where Bucky did intentionally knowing he's going to die doing it, it would have made more sense for him at the end to also be like my best friend, I'm going to make sure this is gone. And then not only that, I feel that the poeticness of that would follow through into Civil War. And why are you always protecting Bucky? It's like, you don't understand. When I was a super soldier and he was still just a man, he saved my life on that train. But he didn't. He just falls like a bitch. And I don't like Bucky going out that way. I know he comes back. I get it. But you don't know this when you're watching this movie. And you don't know that's going to happen. I mean, if you're a Marvel nerd and a comic book nerd, you know Bucky comes back eventually, and you know they're probably going to save that and do that. I think you'd have felt like it was earned if he felt like he was following in his friend's footsteps, where even Steve had to become a super soldier to be what he believes in the most. But he's still his friend, who's just a regular guy. He still can look up to his friend that's not a super soldier, that does that selfless sacrifice, that later on is why he would save his life. Because it couldn't have happened to a better guy, is basically what he would say. I would like to think that in Steve's mind, Bucky is everything he wants to be. That's kind of what you get from the beginning of this movie. I'm not saying Bucky's as good of a man as Steve, but that's not how Steve feels. That's not how someone feels about their best friend. When they see their best friend, anything Steve probably has ever learned or been protected by or had any kind of life fun, like anything that he's learned in his life towards that in this age of where he is in the beginning of this movie is because of this best friend that he has, who's everything he wants to be. He's seasoned. You're an able-bodied man that can go fight in this war, that I wish I could. Not only that, but you're also part of this great, later on, you find out he's part of this great group of guys that kick a lot of ass and they don't die easy and they're hardcore. So not only that, Bucky is the man. Like Bucky's that guy. Bucky's the super soldier without the serum. And I think I think that moment would have been earned more if something was happening on that train and Bucky saw it going down, maybe not realizing Steve would have survived. It wouldn't have mattered. Bucky sees his friend might die from whatever is about to happen and intentionally does something for him to take the blunt of whether it is a shot or a push off the train and they even almost, if I was filming it, it'd be almost like they make eye contact where he knows I'm doing this for you, and it's like that would have made mourning him more thoughtful, and it would have made his decision to fly that plane into the ice more understandable, because he's going to be like his friend, because he's going to be that guy, because he's the one that had helped to be that guy when his friend was always that guy. And I just think that would have emotionally would have uplifted this movie for the end for me, and given that little bit of a taste, because that's my biggest issue is Bucky just kind of and he's gone, and it's like an awful. Any time the CGI was bad was right there. I'm like, man, he's just, oh geez, it's just like a random guy just died, and I get it for the effect of later he's still alive. Cool, I get that, but boy, wouldn't it even be cooler though if you knew that he had saved Steve's life, so that when Steve does see later that he's alive, it's like, like it would have almost hit more. That's the only thing in Steve's entire story in the Infinity Saga I'd change in the entire saga is his friend died differently by saving his life. And that would have elevated this movie and just added another layer of why Steve is awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely would have elevated Bucky too, to be honest.
Well, it would have made us in the future movies be even more understandable. Yeah, he's going to save, because that's what Bucky did for him. I just feel like this is that emotional thing this movie didn't have towards the end. Because my other issues with this act is who the bad guys went from, I was okay with them being the sniveling bad guys that they were, and we're doing great, and then we get to this third act, and we still have yet to really see him do something god-awful. And like, oh man, I know you're bad. You've killed some people out of distaste, but you really never tested our hero. In the sense of 90% of this movie is them running from Steve. Which, okay, that can make a good movie. I'm with you. But there's no moments of dread for me when it comes to Red Skull, which sucks because there could be. Because he's scary good and he's scary bad. And like, I kind of would have minded if that last why can't we just go knock on the front door? I would have rather that been a trap and it been a harder situation than it was. If we're not going to see those commandos again because we're going 70 years into the future, that'd have been the perfect time to kill every single one of them in a trap and have it at the hands of Red Skull. That's all I'm saying. I know it never happened in the comics, but if you're never going to see them again anyways, that's the one thing you could change in this continuity of the MCU on movies is, what if Steve's plan fails at the end and he has to improvise, which we know he can do, and he improvises and we still get the ending that we get. But then we also get a taste of Red Skull that makes us go, yeah, you better beat him because geez, he just effed you up. Because he never really does. They get the best of Red Skull by flying across a canyon and breaking into glass in the windows in the middle of his encampment. It just makes no sense to me. It's the Indiana Jones nonsense that is fun to watch, but logic goes out the window. And that's my problem. It was style over story at this part of the movie. I mean, it would have been great if they're in there. They do exactly that same scene, and they all get in there, and then Red Skull just says, yeah, well, just by the way, this is where I wanted you to go, and then you just start seeing these guys getting picked off, and Steve dealing with that, and that would earn him flying the ship into the ice, right? It's like he felt like this mission was my mission, and these people are all dying. I have to finish it, and I'm going to see it right to the end, which means I'm going to put the nose of this thing right into this, and I'm going to be here doing it. Yeah, we'd have been like, hell yeah, Bucky would have, because he did for you.
Yep.
But that's where this failed for me.
I agree to that. I think that would have been a better.
That's my hot take, by the way, when we get there.
Yeah.
That it's two Indiana Jones, and yes, guys, there is such a thing as two Indiana Jones. So sorry, I kind of blew the secret of my hot take of this, because it really is a big part of that last act. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this movie's bad, because it's still a great freaking movie, guys. It's just when you nitpick, like I want to come in with a very definitive list at the end, right? These are my problems with this movie. So. And this Red Skull did not get his due.
Yeah. All right. So, your best moment, though.
In the last act, the best moment, I will have to say, boy, I really like it when he comes up out of it and he's there with Sam Jackson. And I do like. I mean, I know it might be a cliche best moment, but that really is it's a great snap ending, And I like movies that end with a boom, like boom, wow, that's cool. So I'm gonna give it that. I'm gonna give it to that.
I always forget if that is the post credit scene or just part of the movie.
Right? Me too. I forgot that this time too.
This is early on in MCU where post credit scenes are still new.
Yeah.
So I like what we saw in the Incredible Hulk and with I think one of the Iron Man movies, they put the post credit or the mid credit scene, what we would have considered it now, just a tag at the end, so it is part of the movie. I mean, they're both part of the movie, but you know what I mean.
This is more part of the movie.
Yeah. This is the main part before the credits roll.
Yeah.
My best moment I would say is I like the dialogue that Steve has with Red Skull.
Yeah, me too.
I think that I do agree that I think the Red Skull was a little bit underutilized, and I want to say I think that's in my hot take, to be honest. Look and see, since we already spoiled hot takes. Yeah, I did put on there that he just want to make sure I'm saying it right. I put on there he is a great villain, but he is a little underutilized. I would like to see what he will look like modern day, because he's more formidable in the comics when he goes in the modern day like Steve does, than to see how that would have happened. But anyways, besides that, the dialogue though between Steve and Red Skull, really good dialogue. How they wrote it. I love the mannerisms. Hugo Weaving does just a great job.
Oh yeah.
And I like seeing the contrast of Steve with a super soldier serum and then Red Skull with whatever version of that was.
Yeah.
That it really highlights I don't want to say two sides of the same coin type thing, because I feel like that's a cliche, but it really highlights that someone really good, what they're like with that super soldier serum versus something really bad and their bad intentions and motives with a similar serum. Because that's how they get their origin to a degree, when Dr. Abraham explains to Steve why he's German and he's there trying to recruit for the American military and all that, is that he helped him become the Red Skull.
That's right.
He regrets it. And he wants to find the counterpart to that could defeat him. And that's when he found Steve.
Right.
And I think that kind of begs a question that we're going to get into a little bit later, but I'll just touch upon it right now. Is a super soldier serum kind of its own character throughout the MCU? It feels like that. I wouldn't say its own character, like it's an own living entity type thing, but it's such a unique serum treatment, whatever you want to call it, that it's not just something that gives you superpowers. It enhances the natural
any qualities, good or bad,
the qualities that you have.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why it's so hard for them to try to pass the mantle of Captain America onto others. It's because there is no one like Steve Rogers. And I think that that's one of the only Marvel's biggest mistakes in the comics. Like, we always needed Captain America, so therefore we have to give it to Sam Wilson, we have to give it to Bucky Barnes, we have to give it to this, that, which actually Bucky is a little bit closer to.
This is the closest.
Yeah, to Steve. But still, it's not Steve.
And you can't give it to Bucky, though. Well, he already has it, but anyways, continue.
But no, you're right. But that's just one of the things, and maybe that's just a gripe I have overall, of like the comic book industry itself, is that you've made it where the mantle is more important than the hero. Or when the hero, and this could be a comic hot take, everybody, but the hero will eventually pass on. Shouldn't that mantle that he embodied pass on with him?
Yeah.
I feel like we should. This is how I want to say this. And I know I'm getting a little off topic here for a little bit, but when Sam gets the shield from Captain America, I want to say this right because I don't want to mess up, and I had it perfectly in my head a moment ago. Is that what they do in the comics is when Steve is not here anymore. They just give the title to someone else when I feel like that is who the character is. When you think Captain America, you think of Steve Rogers. And it's not because anyone's racist or sexist or
Nothing
whatever,
to do with that.
all those is are out there. It's just simply because that's the character. It's the same thing I feel like with Black Widow, too. Like, Black Widow is Natasha Romanoff. Yes, Yelena Belova is a Black Widow, so to speak, but the Black Widow, that's Natasha Romanoff when you say it.
Yeah.
And it's like if you do it with any other character. I just feel like that we hold on to the mantle of it, like we always need Captain America no matter what. And Sam says in that scene, I can't picture a world without Captain America. Or is it without Captain America or without Steve Rogers? Either way, they really are one and the same.
I think it's without Steve Rogers.
Without Steve Rogers, yes. Yeah. And he gives him the shield. I get it. I do feel like that is a natural progression of he's giving it to him because he thinks he should be the one to carry it on. But I don't know if it's...
That's complete fan service.
...proper to carry it on. You know what I mean?
Yep, I agree.
And I don't mean this with disrespect to Anthony Mackie. I don't mean this disrespect to Sam Wilson as a character at all. But, like, Captain America, as the hero that we know, should have died with Steve. And it feels inauthentic to continue it on after that and try to say it's still Captain America because you just can't duplicate Steve Rogers.
Yeah, you're touching on it perfect because this is one of those things that is one of Marvel's kind of silent failures that they've done from the start, which is like Thor with who's able to wield the hammer, right? We had a whole discussion about what does it mean to really be worthy of the hammer, because I don't feel like Thor earned that. So what's it mean to be worthy of the title of Captain America or to be that good or to be Steve Rogers' version of Captain America? It's and just like they say in both of them, it's obviously it's more to be Thor than the hammer, right? And it's more to be the hammer than Thor. Mm-hmm. So anybody can be a Thor with the power of Thor through the hammer if you're worthy. And just like this scientist tells Steve, this accentuates not only your strengths and your ability, but also who you are as a person on the inside. So if you're someone that's bad, you're 10 times more evil. If you're someone who's good, like he sees in Steve, you're 10 times more good. You know, so once again, when you look at that, what Captain America does that Thor didn't do was earn that. Steve earned that title by being that good already, so when it accentuates it, it makes it even better. There's no one I can think of right now that should get that. You know, especially Sam.
If I would have gone a fourth Captain America movie, I would have ended it with Sam saying, Captain America is gone with Steve Rogers.
Yeah. He should have put the shield down.
I think it would have been a more interesting movie. One, if they took the Falcon and Winter Soldier show and turned it into a movie, I think it would have been a lot more interesting than we actually got. And we'll get to that when we get to that, guys. But it would have been more interesting of a movie for that one to say the American government wants another Captain America, and Sam and Bucky and all of them are trying to protect the legacy of Steve and to show that no one is like Steve and that, you know, Serpent Society, you name it, get that all together. But at the end of the day, when that movie is done, Sam makes the announcement to the world that the world always is yearning for Captain America. But to face the reality that we've all had to face since Thanos, Captain America is no more. We do need more heroes, but we don't need another Steve Rogers because there's only one Steve.
Well, the sad thing is, though, is you're correct. But the sadder part of it is it doesn't have to be that way. They could write in, if you are a good writer, you could make this work. Because they did it right in the wrong movie. You know, you gotta know, some of them, I gotta be sitting back looking at that Brave New World movie going, boy, he's not Captain America, man, we messed up. And then someone's got to be watching Thunderbolts going, we just made Captain America out of Bucky.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The most Captain America moments I've ever seen since Steve was with Bucky in Thunderbolts.
Yes. Yes, his scenes in Thunderbolts reminds
Who messed that up?
America would have done.
Yeah.
Every inch of it.
Who didn't sit back and say, wait a minute, guys, you're writing a Captain America right here.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. We messed up. We put this in the wrong movie. Because that's the problem. Like,
yeah,
I would prefer Bucky be Captain America.
I agree.
Sam.
I agree.
Even though I don't think Bucky should be Captain America.
If they had to,
but if you had to,
if that had,
hell
that
yeah,
was like we must have a Captain America again. Bucky is the closest one to it.
He's the Captain America Thunderbolts. Holy cow!
Yeah,
he is their Captain America.
Yeah.
If they're the new Avengers, he's the Captain America of that group.
Yeah,
no doubt. And that might be where your intention is. But you did so bad with the other Captain America that you want to be the real Captain America.
Yep.
That this one overshadows it. And it's kind of like, get rid of that one because he's good as a bird.
Yep. That's what I'm interested to see in Doomsday, how they're gonna tackle that with Steve.
That's probably the one thing in Doomsday I'm not looking forward to the most is dealing with the fact that he's going to be freaking Captain America the whole time. And how we're going to deal with that. That's probably the one thing I might be dreading more than the X-Men stuff is him and Steve meeting up and then, hey, buddy, look, we're both the same guy. I'm going to be like, oh my God.
I agree.
We're going to have to just swallow that because that's what they're going to do. That's exactly what they're going to do.
All right.
Okay.
To a tangent, but it was much needed, and the needs have been said. So might as well say it now, and we will repeat this. Okay. Biggest issue.
Yeah, I think you just got to finish that up, and then we'll do our score.
Yeah, you already talked about your biggest issues, and I think did you already mention if your climax was earned? You think?
Yeah, I kind of put it all rolled into the ending. Yeah, because I went on a whole tangent. So.
I didn't have too much of a biggest issue other than. Like I wrote on here, I think he could have jumped, but I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, I told you how they could have fixed that. But that
didn't make or break it for me. Though.
Yeah.
Emotionally, yes, I think it was a great origin story to big Captain America.
Agreed.
I would give the ending of this a score of 7 out of 10.
I give it a 6.
We're close.
That's close, guys.
Yep.
That ending saved them. The last 10 minutes is great. But leading up to it made me just go, oh, man, I really hate how Bucky died. It really bugged me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I would have been so... Yeah, by the way, it's on, folks, in the background, and it's literally... There it goes. He's gone. Look at this. I mean, so yeah. Make sure you put a picture of that up and edit. No, but it is the worst. It's there should have been a moment where something was going to happen to Steve, and they just looked at each other, and Steve even can say no, and Bucky just does something, and you're just like, yeah, Bucky, and then he dies, and you're like, oh, that's sad, and then later have him see a vision of it while he's flying the plane into the ice. Come on, guys, if you're not tearing up right there, I don't know who you are, man.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. I'm going to cry over that more than I am about Peggy missing him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because she looks like, I don't know. I like her, but she's a tough cookie, man. Like, I'm just saying. Like, she looks like 20 minutes later, she's like, well, that's over. But,
we get to the deep dives of the casting and performances, we're going to be a little bit similar on some of that.
We might be.
Probably for the first time since we started this retrospective.
Yeah.
For the female lead for me, personally.
Yeah.
Anyways, post-credit scene. What happened? Steve is shown furiously training in a modern boxing gym, struggling to process his new era. Nick Fury approaches and tells him there is a mission with worldwide stakes that require his help. Leads directly into the Avengers. Yeah. All right. So, actually, we don't have I don't have the rating right now here. Let's just go right to the post-credit scene. Then we'll time. The post-credit scene is a teaser trailer for the Avengers, showing quick shots of Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Loki as Earth's mightiest heroes prepare to assemble.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
How important are these post-credit scenes to the MCU?
These are probably the most important ones, at least the one.
Yeah.
That teaser trailer to the Avengers was the culmination of, holy cow, this is happening. And not only is it happening, but it worked in a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could have looked stupid. And it didn't. It looks like, oh my God, I cannot wait for this to happen.
Yeah.
And there it's happening.
Hype level 100%.
100%. Both did great job. The one prepared you, showing him kicking and doing all this thing and being Steve. Awesome. Very kind of, I'd say, an unnecessary post-credit scene. I think he could have ended. I don't think he needed this post-credit scene. I still give it 10 out of 10 because there's nothing really wrong with it. But like him waking up in modern time at the end of the movie, I think was good enough.
Yeah.
But then to see this trailer, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like that was the in stone. No matter where this Marvel Universe project they have is going, we are at least going to get a team up movie of all these movies we just saw over the last how many years.
Yeah. And
that's a big deal.
This is a great, successful launch to do something like that. I don't think any film franchise would be this ambitious to do it like that.
They're on the verge of making history right now.
Literally. Yes.
Yep, literally. Yep.
I put on here how important it is very much and very cool to actually get the trailer to a film as the post-credit scene.
Awesome.
Fun fact, this has only happened twice in MCU's history with this movie.
That's right.
And then the second time, at the end of No Way Home from Spider-Man, you get the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer as the post-credit scene. Which, at the time...
Yeah, we were hyped. We were hyped.
So hyped.
Yeah,
it's just... We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's why I think we're going to get it again at the end of Spider-Man. We're going to get a hardcore Doomsday trailer. It's going to be a boom. This is the knocker. This is a Doomsday trailer you've been waiting. It might not be this one. It's going to be the one that makes you go, what are we looking at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be awesome. Yeah.
I think we should, at the end of the Avengers Doomsday trailer, get a hardcore Secret Wars trailer.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That for me personally,
just hit us with one, boom.
That would be cool. Be like, oh, you can't wait till next year? Here's a little sliver. And be like, a whole trailer. We have a whole year to talk about this one trailer. Forget the rest of your marketing campaign.
When they ushered out Lord of the Rings back in the day, the first teaser trailer to Lord of the Rings showed the Fellowship walking up over a hill, and it said, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, coming Christmas 2007, right? Or no. 2007? I can't remember.
Yeah.
2000, whatever. Or 2001.
The first one says on one.
Oh my God. Hold on, folks. We're gonna have to make sure we double check on that. But anyways, it said the Fellowship of the Ring coming out 2001, and then it keeps going, and the trailer goes Lord of the Rings 2001, and then the trailer keeps going. That same teaser trailer keeps going and goes Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers 2002, and then it keeps going and says the Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King 2003, and then that's the teaser trailer for the first Lord of the Rings movie. Holy cow. And these Avengers movies, the way they did it like this made me feel that way. I'm like, yeah, cool. You know what I mean? Like, give us this stuff. Like, show us that stuff. Like, I like it when movies do that. You're 100% correct. Like, do that thing. Get us hyped. I would love at the end of Doomsday, we get to the very end of the credits, and it's a 2-minute full trailer of Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Just boom. No teasers. No, can't wait. No, we're just going to it's a year away. Give it to them. Give that trailer to us and make us just seep for the next one.
Yeah.
The Matrix did that. Actually, at the end of the Matrix, you get a trailer for the next one. And at the end of the second one, you get a trailer for the third one. They did that. And it was that successful. And however you feel about those movies, at the time, I remember seeing them. They were like mind-blowing, and they were they were cutting edge. So even even in retrospect that the sequels weren't as good, when you got done watching a sequel and they give you a trailer for the next one, you couldn't help but be excited because it was left on a cliffhanger, So like I think that's do it, Marvels.
Yeah.
Just have fun. Have fun with it. But I would love to see that. But this did that. This Avengers trailer was a perfect. This is when it needed to happen, and this is when you're ready. We're ready now for the Avengers, man. Like now we need to see this.
I score 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
All right, deep dives, casting, best performance for you.
I'm gonna give the best performance in this movie to Hugo Weaving as Red Skull.
Nice. Okay. Hey, he deserves it.
Yep. I'm not taking away from everybody else in it. They all did a good job. But I got to tell you, man, that guy he brought this unique, just enough silly campiness as a bad guy to it, but enough to make me want to see just wreck house. And as good as the performance was, I still wish he was able to do a couple things that would have been even more scarier, because it had been a little more memorable. So I'm gonna have to give it to Hugo on this one. How about you?
I put down Chris Evans.
Good choice.
He, obviously, not only is he the title hero, of course, but he was. I can honestly, if I had to really reevaluate this, I could put him as both my best performance and surprising performance, just because I didn't know at the time. Mind you, I was really young too, but I only knew him as Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four, so I didn't know how that would translate. Would it be believable for me because I'm already used to that actor as a certain Marvel character already.
Gotcha.
But it was great. But yeah, I'm just gonna label him just as my best performance, favorite. My most surprising performance though is Stanley Tucci. He is such a good actor. I put him.
He's so good.
Yeah, he doesn't really have too big of a role, but he's big enough in the role where he can act the crap out of a good German accent, like really, really good.
Yeah, he's real good.
And I believe he's Italian. Tucci is Italian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He sounds like a pretty average Joe, but he's always been good at accents. He does that in a lot of movies. He plays a lot of different.
Very, very good. I was surprised by his performance. I actually really liked it. So, who's your most surprised?
My most surprising performance I put is Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Why I say that is because it's someone that wasn't that well received all the time. I liked him as Johnny Storm. I enjoyed those Fantastic Four movies back then a little more than others. I see the faults in them and where they went wrong for sure, but they're not hard movies to watch though. They're actually still. Hell, I just watched one the other day for the fun of it. I was like, I can watch this one again, and it didn't blow my mind, but it is what it is, and But I saw a movie with him called Cellular at the time before this had come out.
Yes.
It's a very good movie.
Very good.
And I was surprised how awesome he was in it. And I was like, man, this guy could be a really good action star. And then when he did this, that's why it surprised me. Because when I saw him in this, I'm like, oh, you're a good actor too.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just someone that is a good action star. You're a good actor.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, he's on my top 5 of the best actors in the MCU. Mm-hmm. Like the outside of the MCU, best actor wise, he's in my top 5 list. He did a movie called Puncture, where he's plays a lawyer who's trying to help nurses sue pharmaceutical companies to make needles that once you use the needle into a person's arm, the needle itself goes back up into the pen of the needle, so then they can't get stuck again and get diseases. Great movie, and his character is a guy who's a drug addict who's also an excellent lawyer. And I highly suggest go watch Puncture. Nobody talks about this when they talk about him. And it's phenomenal. He is so good. He has a scene in it, guys. I cry. It's like I cried. I watched it and it brought me to tears, this moment in this movie with him and another character. And it's phenomenal. And he's done this before. I think he's chosen poor movies of recent to be in outside of this. But then he shows up in Knives Out. And he's so good in that, he does a great job. I like Chris Evans, but this though, I put it as the most surprising because like I said, I just thought he'd be a fun action star. And when I saw he was cast as this, I'm like, good choice because we can watch this guy do this. And then the acting show, he plays Steve so subtle. Like there's no overacting. You could easily overact this good guy persona and he does it. He does it. He keeps it just enough. But then pulls it back just enough. I'm like, yeah, I like this guy. This is good stuff.
Yeah. Well, by the way, those needles you talked about, they actually do exist.
Yeah, they do now. Yeah. This movie is about how that happened.
Oh, nice.
This is a true story. This movie is true. Yeah. That Puncture movie is a true story about how that happened. And actually, when you watch that, it's heartbreaking because it's what a mess that was. There's a very big controversy behind why a lot of hospitals wouldn't buy those needles because there's folks, whether we like it or not, there's even corruption in our pharmaceuticals industry. There's lots of money involved. There's people involved that they have a product they've been making a ton of money on forever. Someone comes along with a new one that threatens their way of life. Before you know it, it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, this movie, if you want to see a little eye opener about what that means behind the scenes of that, watch that film. It's the true story of how those needles came to be. And it is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, Sam, that'd be a great watch sometime for one of our episodes. So great movie. Yeah.
What was your weakest performance?
This is the only time I'm ever going to say this. The only time I'll ever say this. Ever. It's Sebastian Stan. And it bothers me because he's on my top 3 of the best actors in the MCU. If you look at the stuff this guy's done outside of the MCU, folks, he is a hell of an actor. He is one of the best guys. I actually, when I hear he's in something, I'm like, I need to watch that. You know, I don't care what it's about. He even played Donald Trump real well.
Played Donald Trump.
Yes. You might have to look it up. I do believe him and Jeremy Strong are in this movie. Look up the title of it. For some reason, it's leaving my mind, but he played Donald Trump. You could probably do Sebastian Stan Donald Trump movie. And he's good in it. Like, he's great in it. Well, no matter how you feel about Donald Trump, folks, he's still a person that someone's going to play as a character. And that's just it. You know, evil, good, love him, don't love him. We're not going to talk about that here.
You like him or not, Donald Trump he's Donald Trump.
He's a character himself, and he plays him well. Just like I'll say, Josh Brolin plays an amazing George W. Bush in W, which is another movie you should all watch if you haven't seen it. But like,
oh my gosh,
you show it. Yes. What's the name of that film again, Sam? To tell everybody.
Oh my gosh, yes, The Apprentice.
Yes, it's fantastic. Yep. It's basically about the guy. It really is more about the guy who taught Donald Trump everything he knows.
Yeah.
Played by Jeremy Strong. But Sebastian plays Donald Trump, and he's awesome as Donald Trump.
The likeness.
It's sick.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
He does the same thing where he plays Tommy Lee in that one of the Pam Anderson one, the TV show where he plays Pam's husband, Tommy Lee. Mm-hmm. It's called Tommy and Pam. Oh, he's so good. He plays a cannibal in a movie called Fresh on Hulu. Watch it. It's great. I mean, I'm telling you, the guy's fantastic, but boy, he sucked in this. And it's not his fault.
No.
This is the writing.
Yes, I completely agree. I put the same exact thing down between him and Haley Atwell.
Yep.
Sad to say that, but it's probably the first female lead that I would say was probably, well, Liv Tyler, I did put her as the weakest, but I also put her as this is the most surprising, so they take out a grain of salt. But I put them kind of as neck and neck, and I felt bad saying that because I kept thinking, oh, I can't put Sebastian Stan. But then as I'm trying to be critical on all the performances and what was given to them for the script, like, he did a good job for the script that they gave him, but
agreed.
It's
just garbage.
They wrote him as a side character,
and then like you watch him fall off that train, guys, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I do agree that
it's awful. That could have been way better, and he's got the chops. Now look at him. He's awesome in the MCU, and he's so good. I can't wait to see him when I see him.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to his season.
Yep.
Anyways, all right, so casting wins for you.
Yeah, not many misses, guys. I think this is a very well-casted movie. I'm not going to go on maybe the guy who played... we'll go somewhere else with that. Never mind. So the casting win for me, though, for sure, was bringing Tommy Lee Jones in.
Oh.
Because you brought the gravitas. Here he is, the one, the only. If you're going to put anybody in charge of training a bunch of guys and be the leader and just someone that exudes any kind of power but still has a warmness...
Yes.
And smart, but still silly. Yep. It's Tommy Lee, man. Oh. Like, Tommy Lee Jones is one of the best actors that we've ever had, ever will have. And he just being there. I don't even know how hard he had to act. I think he just come and talked and left. and if that's the case, it's awesome, because he's just so good in it. He's so good in it.
I agree. Wholeheartedly. I agree. I think that was perfect. I put that Chris Evans, for me, was a casting win.
Yeah, that's a given, right? Yeah.
And I will say Haley Atwell, even though I put her neck and neck with Sebastian Stan as one of the weakest performances, she is a casting win.
Yeah.
She has this presence about herself that makes me want to say, I want you to be Steve's girlfriend, the type of thing. Like, she's just, and she then get a spin-off show after this, through ABC Studios. They're called Agent Carter, where she does 2 seasons, and she could helm her own show.
Yeah,
she's just that good of an actress.
I agree. Yeah, it's hard to come up with a miss because I think the whole thing was casted well. Truthfully,
yep.
It's if there's any miss in the casting, it's the misuse of the writing of the character, not the casting itself of it. So,
is there any missed opportunities or wasted potential you would say?
Yeah, Red Skull is my big missed opportunity. And that's part of my hot take, which is why when we get there, we can skip the hot takes because we really jumped into them already. Yeah. I don't really have anything hotter than that to say other than what I've already kind of said about a couple of the other things. But yeah, I feel like, man, if you couldn't do it in this movie, I feel like let's see him again and we never get that, unfortunately. So missed opportunity is I needed 1 or 2 scenes of him being freaking just Well, yeah, or bring in the stakes.
Yeah,
Bring in the stakes, man. Kill the commandos. He should have alone killed them. Like, they should have come in, and there should have been a whole scene where he, as an evil super soldier, kicks their ass and kills and murders every single one of them. And that makes Steve, holy cow, you know what I mean? Like, because we're never going to see them again anyways. And that's, to me, that's just would have made it. Like, we have to beat this guy. Like, you have to.
That's what I put as my missed opportunity, my wasted potential, is the Howling Commandos. Because,
yeah, they're a little flat.
Yeah, they're a little flat, but you know what? Honestly, in my opinion, you could have done a Disney Plus show of the Tales of the Howling Commandos.
I agree. Yeah, that'd be cool.
That picks up after World War II when Steve was done, and just have them fight Hydra soldiers.
Have them hunting down old Nazis hiding from everybody.
Yes,
sick.
That would be so cool. Because it was a great.
And they meet up with Magneto.
Oh my gosh!
I know, I'm just going way out there.
Find a young boy named Ep6.
Yeah, and a door to a secret world of dinosaurs under the crust of the earth, with Nazis riding them with lasers. Come on, maybe some ninjas. Come on. No, but I think you're correct. You could have had a great. That's right. You could have had. You could have had a great fun spinoff with them, or like I said, kill them. You know, if you don't want them to be so flat, have heartwarming moments where even as Red Skull's choking one out or holding one up in the air, he looks over at Steve like sorry, and he dies. Steve's like bah, and everything goes crazy, and they're fighting. I mean, what the hell? We miss out on but hey.
All right, I'm going to go through this like really quickly. This is the one part where I really usually don't have too much to say. Direction and production.
Yeah.
Everything for me was very good. For the direction style, the cinematography, the action quality. I think I will say the action quality gets better for Steve all the films after this one.
100%.
This is just a basic period piece World War II, bare minimum action type stuff. I would even dare to say that the Wonder Woman movie that is supposed to be a World War II period piece with Wonder Woman has better action scenes than Captain America First Avenger.
I agree. Well, that's one of my DC hot takes. I think that Wonder Woman 2 movie is way better than people say it is. We'll get there someday.
Yeah, everything for me, very good. The music, we've talked about this in past episodes, and we totally agree. The music sucks.
What's wrong? What happened in these first few movies?
But this one is just...
Thank God for the next one.
Yeah.
It's
full of... This has very Americana.
It's a
piece stuff. Stuff, like I said, you can find this on SoundCloud and download it as a ringtone. It's not anything fancy.
And no offense to the composers, if you're big time, maybe you just don't stay. It just doesn't. I'm just not. I have a playlist on my phone of soundtracks of movies, and none of these are on there.
What Fox got right for the Marvel characters, both Fantastic Four and X-Men, is they had a distinct theme song and sound to them that, I mean, I could listen right now in my head to the Fantastic Four for 2005, their theme.
Yeah.
It's very distinct and very cool. And then, of course, I'm sorry, but my hot take for the X-Men, the films from Fox have a better theme song than the 90s cartoons. And I know people love the 90s cartoons, and it's popular. I get it. I like it too. But those films do something to me.
When they go into those montages and
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's so good. Anyways. So... what's your take on that whole section?
It's the same kind of thing. This is like, okay, it's directed by a guy. I don't see any kind of like signature on it.
Yep.
Not like I did in Thor, where I can see, okay, this is definitely a Kenneth Branagh. I mean, obviously at the time, Kenneth Branagh didn't have like a signature. He was still early in his career doing that stuff. But afterwards, when you realize it's him, it's like, oh, obviously that's the guy who made it. Yeah, it's clearly that's a guy who can make a movie that we just watched. This, you could probably tell me this guy's name 100 times, I'm gonna forget it. And this movie doesn't, do anything for it. The visual effects, I think, are a little better in this, in certain things, especially with young Steve, or small Steve, I should say. Yeah. So where the visual effects really needed to be good, this movie did a good job with, I think. Yeah. Except Bucky falling off the train looks like garbage. Just because the moment's garbage. The action quality, for me, that's a problem. It's style over action. It's style over story as well. There's a style to this that is very Indiana Jones reminiscent, and where it might work for Indiana Jones, just for me, felt kind of flat for Captain America. Not saying the stuff that we saw wasn't appealing and fun and a good time, but in a rewatchable sense, I was bored with this movie the second time. And that's where, sorry, but a big portion of how I decide to where to put this on a number scale of these movies is how many times can I watch this movie in a week? Because I try to watch them as many times as I can in a week before we do these. And, honestly, we've only really had the time myself to watch them twice.
Yeah.
I maybe watched Iron Man 2 like partially the third time, like an hour of it or something. But if I try to at least get 2 viewings in, if I can.
And Hulk was unbearable to watch this.
Oh my!
I was
It was a
shocked.
drag.
Yeah.
But this got close to that too. This had times where I literally fast forward. I'm like, yep. Okay, that's what I wanted to see because I forgot about this, and that's not good, And a lot of that is because some of the action was I don't need to see this moment of action. When I think these movies, as going further, going after Avengers, we don't have movies. Not a lot of them are like that. They actually do care about every moment that there's that. Like, it gets better, guys. I'm not saying this is because this is no matter how negative we all sound, these are still great comic book movies. Some of the best you're ever going to see. Started something that's the most amazing thing we've ever watched. So this is just once again being as critically critiqued about it as we possibly can. So that's my issues. And once again, like you just got done saying, man, the music sucks. Like, it's just nothing memorable. It's not, okay, I take it back. It doesn't suck. It's music. It don't hurt the movie. It definitely doesn't help it either. So,
yeah, that's true.
Sorry, I shouldn't say it sucks. I do apologize. It's just not there.
Distract us from anything in the movie, but at the same time, there was nothing memorable about it that stood out to us.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, good movies have good soundtracks. Plain and simple. Whether it's songs that are picked to be in the movie or an actual orchestrated music, good movies have good soundtracks. 99% of the movies that you ever see me put on like a 100% perfect that I would put on the top tier of best movies ever made. All their soundtracks. Not everybody's gonna like every single one of them because of taste, but they're one of the qualities about the movie that is discussed is their soundtrack.
Frozen.
Sorry, no, no, but Interstellar, Jaws, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
When if you say name the top 3 things that come to your mind about all 3 of those movies, the soundtrack's one of them because they're just iconic,
Yeah.
And Sammy and I just watched F1. That soundtrack's fantastic. Fantastic, so it's like, and it doesn't have to be Jaws. It doesn't have to be as big as that to be the best soundtrack. It's not about best. It's just it fits that movie. I love a movie with a good soundtrack, man. You get me in that soundtrack, I'm good to go. And these didn't have that, so
yeah.
All right, we can skip hot takes.
Skip hot takes we already talked about.
Yeah,
and catch them. Rewind back a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Quick fire questionnaire. Best scene of the movie for you. This is hard, honestly, for me.
Yeah, I thought, and I decided to put in the one I talked about earlier. I love that scene where they meet on that bridge when the factory's blowing up after he saves Bucky. That's my favorite scene. That might be the best scene of the movie. And why I say that is because it's just one of those that I'm just eating it up when I'm watching. I'm like, man, I'm forgetting I'm watching a movie. I'm really into it. I'm loving every second of it. This is a great moment. So I'm going to take it for that. I'm sure there's definitely argument for definitely better scenes. Maybe between him and the doctor when he is talking to him about his, being a good man and all that. That I guess, but I wouldn't say it's the best scene in the movie, in my opinion. So.
I personally had a hard time with this because I had a couple scenes that I would say were I liked. I already talked about in Act 2. My favorite scene was him being stealthy, getting into the prison camp. I really probably should have put that as my favorite scene of the movie. But I do like the transformation scene.
Yep.
So I wrote that down as the one for just this talking point here, just because I thought it was really cool to actually see that done as someone who read the comic a long time ago and then see how they put that into realization. It's kind of one of those. It doesn't look exactly the same because, drawings and all that are different, but by golly, they made it look so good. It was just so good. And to me, that's the beginning of Captain America. Steve Rogers is always there. But beginning of the Captain is right there. So
that's good. I like that.
All right. I couldn't write down the least best scene for me because I got one. Guess mine would probably be similar to yours with Bucky dying. Or maybe you guys would different.
It is Bucky dying now. After we've been talking about it, I keep realizing how bad that is. But I think there's two scenes that are equal to me. That whole train sequence is stupid. I just don't like it. First of all, you're ziplining. You gotta go before the train. You're not ziplining as fast as the train. That's not happening. I get it. There's logic. It's style. That's the Indiana Jones side of it. I don't like. And what was the plan? Get those guys on a train, trap them with one soldier with this big gun. They come. It's just awful, guys. The other scene that I just really had a hard time with, and it's one of the villain scenes that I wish wasn't in the movie. It's the only time that made me question whether Red Skull was good or not. And the rest of everything else he does is great, but this one particular scene made me cringe a lot. And that's when they're testing out the Tesseract. And he's just like, I didn't come all this way to just be safe. And Bridget's and all that. And I'm just like, this is dumb. Like this felt like, I'm like, okay, I get it. This is that campy that went a little far on the campy. Like, back off a little bit. Both those guys in that ate that. I just feel like when they were done, I feel like in my mind's eye, Hugo Weaving's like, that's what you want? That's what you want me to do? Because it just was like, it's so... I didn't come here to be safe, and he pulls the lever. Part of me's like, what if they just exploded right there? This movie ends, right? Like, just by chance, I'm not playing safe, and he pulls the lever like some old stupid movie. Like, I'm sorry, guys. It bothered me a little. That scene just was a little. The camp was a little high. So you could have it made me cringe a tad. So, but I don't know if it made me cringe as much as Bucky off the train. So, I think those two scenes for me are hard to pick between. So those two really took me out of it.
Your best villain moment?
His introduction in the church while he's still with the regular face. Because when you see the red face guy, you're not trusting that guy for nothing,
no, That's dramatic.
Yeah.
He's like struggling to, and then slowly it's like, wow.
And there's no one he's going to walk up to with that head, and you just feel, you look like a good guy to talk to. No. But this first guy, though, doesn't seem as scary until he wants to be.
Yeah.
Like I said, you feel like you can negotiate with him almost, but you can't because you know you're not going to be able to. Like, okay, this guy is your friend until he's not, and he might just be your friend to get what he wants to get. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that one.
Well, my favorite villain moment was kind of, to me, it demonstrated how scary he was when the one soldier came running up to him. By the way, he has the classic bad guy car. I'm sorry, but when it's showing the montage of Captain
I kind of like it.
I like it too, but he's Captain America's with the Howling Commandos taking down all these places, and they're pulling out the Nazi flag and putting down the American flag or Britain flag, whatever it is. And when he pulls up in that car, and it's a dramatic vision with a camera. It's like flowing the film pulled up.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. I'm like, such a classic villain car, but it fits him so well.
Yeah.
But my favorite villain moment is when one of the guys runs up and says, we couldn't defeat him, we were all killed, and then he says, evidently not. He shoots him.
Oh, we fought to the last man, he says, right? He goes, evidently not. Yeah.
Like, evidently not. Like, that's so good.
Yeah, it's good.
Great line delivery.
Yep, agreed.
Most punchable face for you.
For me, what's the name of his little scientist buddy?
Artem Zola.
I want to punch that guy right in the face. Every time I see him and he talks, because he's just snivelly, snivelly. And it's like, just shut your mouth, dude. Like you just shut up. I can't do that. I'm just It's like, I don't like him. I just don't like him. Like, punch him in the face.
Yeah, I should have said him, but I heard his name. That's the only reason why I have it in here is when I was watching it, I wrote it down. The one that they chose to be the soldier for the super soldier.
Oh, okay. He needs a good nod.
And cocky and all that stuff, but
My first gut instinct was the bully from the movie theater. Who goes to the movie and acts like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, what a jerk. I mean, even if you don't like this, but he does get punched in the face.
Yeah.
So it's good. But yeah, and no offense to the actor who plays that little scientist guy. Like, he's a great actor, but geez, I just wanted
annoying.
I just wanted to deck him one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how Red Skull did.
What I find so funny is the one scene where Red Skull gets done blasting the other Nazi generals, and then he says, "Hail Hydra," and then his soldiers in the background go, "Hail Hydra," and they put their fists up. Then he gives this little, like, big eyebrow look to Artem Zola sniffling in the corner, and
Like,
gets out, like,
oh, they're really evil.
he gets out, he's like, "Hail Hydra!" And then when he's being interrogated by Tommy Lee Jones's character, he's all for him. But yeah, when he's in his presence, he makes it seem like he's there as a prisoner.
Yeah, well, he's like, I'm seeing how evil he is, and I'm stuck, and I can't get out of this.
Yeah, and then
but yeah, you're with the good guys, and you're acting like,
I feel like because he could do it. He could take over the world. Like,
yeah. Someone hasn't punched you in the face, have they yet?
Exactly.
That's what Tommy should have said. You need a good punch in the face.
I love when Tommy Lee Jones says, "Oh, does cow give you the rump leg, tump leg?" Awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's so good.
Anyways, so next step. One prop you take home.
Whew. I picked 2.
Okay. This is hard, because this thing is full of props.
Yeah, I kind of wouldn't mind a little vial of the super soldier serum.
Yep.
Like on the desk. But honestly, if I had to really pick one thing, I like his first shield.
His first shield. I thought about that too, but part of me thought that's too big as a prop. Just hide.
It'd be kind of cool on a wall, though.
Well, I wrote down the soldier helmet the Cap uses for values mission, because it's just one of the showgirls ones, but it has the A on it, so that it just trickles into his overall.
That's a good pick too.
And then that's unique to that movie, as that because he doesn't wear that ever again. So
I think the obvious one would be the Tesseract.
Yeah, but I feel like
it'd be neat to have one. But
that would be cool. But I feel like that could be even a prop from the Avengers.
From a lot of them.
Tesseract shows up so much, so yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, most underrated moment.
Most underrated moment. I don't know. I think there's more overrated moments than there are under, so I'm gonna pass on that one.
Okay. I actually can think of an overrated moment, so I'm gonna let you take that on. But I'll say my underrated moment was the scene of the doctor with Steve explaining the serum and why Steve was chosen. I think that a lot of people, and we see this evidently with even the filmmakers, forget why Steve was chosen to be Captain America, why he was chosen for that serum and to take on that mantle. And I think that since Endgame in particular, they've had this influx of who can be Captain America. Are we going to do this? Or is it going to be Wyatt Russell's character is going to be this, and be like, you forget how Captain America became Captain America to begin with. And I feel like if they just rewatch that scene and have it re-explained to the filmmakers and writers behind some of these future projects, they would know why you just can't make another Cap.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yep.
So anyways, that was mine. What's your overrated moment then?
Overrated, I do think, I don't think the thing with Bucky's earned, his morning Bucky and all that, it's all slow to me. It's sad that he's gone and all that, but I'm just so taken out of the movie when that moment happens that this is the emotional beat that's not hitting for me. So I think it's a little overrated because of that. Yep. But that's, once again, it's my taste and kind of a hot take, I guess.
All right. Your funniest moment?
As we talked about it already, I love when he does rescue Bucky, that whole exchange.
Yeah.
Of you were smaller. And then this whole, then he goes into, is it permanent? No, I couldn't stop laughing because they have to talk with each other while they're escaping at the same time. And Bucky's just like kind of going along with each. And then he sees a guy rip his face off. You imagine being in Bucky's shoes at this moment. Like the day before Bucky is captured by these guys, he sees all these futuristic weapons. All of a sudden, his best friend's there, who's now a super soldier, and then the bad guy rips his face off in front of you. I mean, Bucky's probably like, "What the hell is going on?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you put yourself in his shoes for a second, it's kind of it's a fun moment. So,
well, my funniest moments come from the legend Tommy. I already talked about the rumbly tumbly one that didn't make me laugh out loud, but the one that I think made me laugh a little bit harder was when Steve gives Peggy a kiss, and then Steve looks down at Tommy as he's driving. He's like, "Don't look at me. I ain't giving you a kiss." I'm like, "That's good.
Yeah, that's funny.
Just a funny natural quirk that just
He just knows when to say it.
Yeah.
It's not even a joke, really. He just says it in his own curmudgeon way.
Yep.
And it's hilarious.
It's
Yeah.
All right. Most emotional moment.
Mine, I think, is with the doctor.
Yeah.
I think that means a lot. Yeah. So your most underrated scene to me is the most emotional moment to me in the movie. Should have been the Bucky thing, but the doctor one takes it from me.
Yeah. Well, I agree. If Bucky died better, then it probably would have
been that. Yeah.
More of that.
Yeah.
I put the Steve mourning the loss of Bucky because he is the loss of his best friend, and you find out at that moment that the super soldier serum prevents him from getting drunk. So I think that's
poor guy. Yeah,
that's interesting. It's the same thing with the Hulk. The Hulk can in the Hulk form he can't get drunk. Yeah. So anyways, I think that was a cool little like fun, like you figured out something new about yourself in your grief.
Yep.
Anyway,
agreed.
Before we're going to get into final scores, I do need to make one little shout out mention. We are still a new channel to the podcast, to our social media and things like that.
Yeah.
And we finally have someone who did comment on one of our posts.
Oh, wow.
So by the way, guys, if you're just listening to this, we have a Facebook and an Instagram page. And when we're preparing for an episode, we put out at least 3 promotional little clip arts that says, give us your thoughts and feedbacks, because we do want to hear what you guys think too as we're making our thoughts for this. And we finally got one for this.
Is this going to be a funny one? I can't wait till we get bad ones just so we can laugh.
In-depth one.
Oh, no.
It comes from a guy who's a friend of mine named Raj. So thank you so much. Shout out to you, Raj.
Okay, here we go.
Do this. I'm going to read your statement here, your little mini paragraph.
All right, hey, let's hear it.
We will answer them to the best of our ability, okay? All right. He writes, the biggest reason for loving Captain America was Steve Rogers. Not the super soldier, but just a guy from Brooklyn having all the qualities even without superpowers. That's very rare in superhero movies because any superhero movie is based on the transition of a normal guy getting powers and becoming a superhero. The character is so beautifully written that he never wanted to kill anyone, but hates bullies, hence a shield, becoming a perfect addition, showing he was always for defense and no kills unless it's necessary. Could you discuss 1, his backstory, 2, your thoughts on Cap moving Mjolnir in Age of Ultron? Was he bluffing to save Thor's pride, or was he not ready yet? And 3, your take on passing the baton to new Captain Americas. Well, Raj, we did touch upon the passing the baton to new Captain Americas. And,
you know how we feel about that.
Yeah. In a nutshell, our 2 senses, Captain America and Steve Rogers, are one of the same, and we don't think they should have been passed on.
Or at least the way they're doing it. There's a way I think there is a good path that would make sense, but it also means really giving us a clear vision of what it means to have that mantle. Kind of like what my gripe is with the Thor and what it means to wield the hammer. Sometimes I feel like those things are unclear in the MCU and we just take them for granted, or right up until someone else has it. And then we realize, oh, something's wrong with that picture. And this passing it on is a tough one for sure.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Ike, on Captain America moving Mjolnir in Age of Ultron? Do you think, according to Raj, was he actually bluffing to save Thor's pride because it did move slightly, or was he just not ready yet to pick it up?
So I'll be honest with you. I think this is one of those things that they don't ever want us to know an answer to, which is kind of fun because we can make our own canon of it, right? So nobody's ever going to be wrong. I will be completely honest. I think personally that I'll tell you what I want it to be, and I'll tell you what I really think it is.
Okay.
I want it to be that Steve realized he could and was like, well, I'm not going to do that to Thor. Because maybe part of Steve was like, I don't want to roll Asgard either. You know what I mean? Like, and I think the Thor kind of presented it like that. But the other part of me was like, I think it was just showing how close he is to being able to. Because I think there's an argument to say that his journey from that moment to when you get an Endgame, when he does get the hammer in his hand, there's a moment in there that we could have a good discussion about maybe why I think he earned a title of being worthy enough to have the hammer. Once again, though, it's hard to describe that because there is no set path to, how do you earn having the hammer, right? So you know what? I'm going to give you a definitive answer. I think he just saved Thor's feelings and he could lift it. That's my I have to give you, I'll give you the definitive answer of that. I'd like to think that he had to earn it towards the end, but then I can't give you a good example of how Thor ever earned it because all he had to do was stand in front of a machine and almost die, and he got his hammer back. I don't know. Cap's been doing that since day one, since he jumped on the grenade in the very first movie that we just got done talking about. How he doesn't get to wield the hammer after that. What else do you need to do? So personally, I'm going to go with the fun answer. I think he went and it moved, and he's like, oh, guess not.
Yep. I'm going to say.
Because he kind of does give him that, yeah. And then, and even Thor's like, oh, man, yeah, oof. Yep. But then I think Thor knows it. So then later on, when Thor's laying on the ground and he does it, he goes, I knew it. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with that one. That makes more sense to me. I like it. It's more fun.
The bluffing one kind of makes more sense. I don't know if he did it to save Thor's pride.
I think Cap did. He's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
I think he did it to save his pride.
I think he did it, and he realized he could lift it up, and he's like, I'm not going to touch those waters.
Yeah.
But this is not the time and place for that.
I still think he was just being nice to Thor.
He probably was. It probably was both, to be honest.
Probably both. You're right. You're right.
But part of me wants to say that he's thinking time and place, Steve, and now I know I could do this. I'm not going to.
You're thinking about it. When you get to Endgame,
he's to an Endgame.
Right. When you get to Endgame, he's pretty confident. He's just bone. Like, he knows it's coming.
Yeah.
Like, there's no like, oh, it's last ditch effort.
Yeah.
He's like, bam, got it.
There's no struggle. He doesn't walk up to it and try to lift it up, and all of a sudden he's got it.
No.
It's this.
It flies to him. He don't just pick it up, it flies to him. Yeah. So, and I knew it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I like that part of it.
Thor says, I knew it, just as Thanos
kicks him like 9 stories deep into the ground. Like, oh my God. I've always been like, ooh. Every time that happens, like, you knew it, but your face is gone. It's like, now you're just, oh my God. You just kicked your nose off your head. Like, oh. Yeah, no, yeah. So there's your definitive answer for me and Sam. Yeah, he could pick it up for sure. Yeah. Which is awesome, right? That's what we want it to be.
And you asked for us to explain Steve's backstory, and thankfully this movie does it mainly for you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
There's nothing really too much more to ad lib on it other than he is this kid from Brooklyn who's too scrawny to be part of the military, and also had a laundry list of things like he has asthma, he has all this other different stuff that you see in the movie. You're like, the first one alone, he wasn't qualified.
Yeah, and then to add on to the emotional part of the backstory and idea of kind of what you touched on in your comments was he definitely, this is your prime, what it really means to be a superhero, right? Because we can always say the most favorite and fun and most emotional superheroes are the ones that don't have powers and they still do amazing things, like the Iron Mans, the Batman, who are just regular guys doing amazing stuff. Well, this is a guy who is given powers, but it's this whole against the bullies thing. That's what it's always been, right? And that's what I think in a general sense, comic books, even from the start, really were all about. You hear Stan talk all the time, or Stan Lee talk all the time about a lot of his characters were driven off of anti-bullying and all that. Spider-Man being a big one of that too, And Cap is just a perfect example. It not only does it embody like this idea of the American dream and a pureness to being good and doing the right thing, but to stand up for what's right. And then this is not to quote a Spider-Man quote, but with great power comes great responsibility. And Cap takes that on even better, I think, than Spider-Man takes it on, right? So it's like it's Cap is, and it's funny because before I didn't like Captain America. He came off as Superman to me, not because of his powers, but he just kind of come off as that guy that kind of whips you in the butt with a towel in the shower room, right? He just, even though I know he was a good guy, but he just seemed like, how would you relate to a dude that's like this nuclear family from the 40s and 50s that just, you're not going to have a good conversation with a guy like that in today's age. But then the way they did it in the MCU and presented him with like that, where he is adaptable, where he does move forward and he is who he still is, even from the core, and some of the phrases he even says later on in the movies
are great because they remind you of how he used to talk when he was young. Like, yeah, it's fantastic stuff.
I feel the exact same way you do about it, Raj, that a typical cookie cutter superhero is an ordinary guy, gets superpowers, and decides to do good. Cool. Cap was doing good before the super soldier serum.
Yep.
And so that's what made him different than any other superhero. Is that no matter what, if he never got injected with that serum, he still would have jumped on that grenade. He still would have ran after the guy that killed his scientist friend. He still would have tried to save his best friend behind enemy lines. It's just he actually could accomplish those other things because.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see how and when he tells Doom he can do this all day.
Yes. All right. So thank you for that, Raj. And now we're going to move on to our final scores. And we're going to be wrapping up this episode in one moment, guys. All right. Thank you for staying with us. If you're stuck with us this long, please do what Raj did and comment on our posts. We really need it for the algorithm. And we will give you a shout out as you hear right now on the podcast. Thank you so much. All right. Ike, Multiverse Meter. Your story out of 2.
Oh, story out of 2. I give it a 1.5.
Me too.
Yep.
Characters out of 2.
I give it a 1.5.
I gave it a 2. Action and visuals out of 2.
1.
I gave it a 2. Emotion and stakes out of 2.
1.5.
I gave it a 2. All right. Rewatchability and MCU impact.
I give it a 1 on rewatchability for sure. And because of that, I have to stick with it.
Yep. I'm going to say 1. The same for me. All right, so my final score was an 8.5 overall. I think, what would yours be?
Sorry, guys. There's too many things in it that I really had a hard time with, and rewatchability-wise, I'm going to give it a 5.5.
All right, so
I like the little sound you got. I mean, it's good. That's definitely going to set that bar for that medium range going forward for me in some of these. Hey. Still a great movie, guys.
All right, so the official Goodell Multiverse score is a 7 out of 10.
Not bad.
All right, not bad.
Just funny. It's funny. It's like you go a little high sometimes. I might go a little low, but when we average it out, you're almost like, that actually looks about right.
That makes sense.
That actually looks about right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
The poster, I picture 7 out of 10 written down.
Yeah.
And post-credit scene, I'm sure is a 10 for 10 out of you. Right?
Yep, 100%. Fantastic.
So final verdict. Your 1 sentence final review.
A must see. Gotta watch it. Start to the Avengers.
Perfect. All right. Mine is one of the best origin films MCU has done, and good that they laid the foundation like they did.
Very good.
All right.
I like it.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for bearing with us and joining us for the Goodell Multiverse podcast. What are we doing next time, Mike?
So next time, guys, we're going to have some news for you. We're not sure what that's going to be yet, but I'm sure we'll come up with some juicy stuff. It's sometime throughout the week. I don't know if it'll be this week or next week, but it'll definitely be within the next 7 to 14 days. I'm going to be putting up our first Dark Dimensions episode. I'm going to be filming it in the next couple of days. We'll see where we go with it. Also, we're going to be doing a review of Daredevil episode 6, season 2. Let's hope it's not another Member Berries episode. And guess what, guys? We're there. We're going to start our part 1, it looks like. We're going to try to split this up into 2 because this is going to be a long one to talk about. There's a lot of character stuff going on. We're going to do part 1 of Avengers, the first Avengers movies, guys. We're there to the first Avengers movie. We are marching right along here on our way to Doomsday, and we're at Avengers 1, part 1 of Avengers.
This will be the conclusion of phase 1.
That's right.
Officially, we finally made it there, guys. Thank you for bearing with us. And yeah, as I'm preparing my notes to get ready for in advance, I'm thinking there's no way in one episode we could talk about the first Avengers.
I didn't think we talked this long about this movie.
Oh.
So part 1 of it, we'll definitely figure out, guys, where the mid part is going to be for that, and we'll go ahead with that. So
but until then, guys, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on TikTok, and of course, we are on YouTube.
Yep.
So you can stream our podcast on Buzzsprout, on Apple, on Amazon, on Spotify, and of course, you can watch us on YouTube. Please like, please subscribe, please tell a friend, please help us get out there and help promote us a little bit. We certainly.
Yep.
All right. So until we see you next time, guys.